Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV Podcast 556. May 5-6. I didn't even think of it.
Oh, that's
May
a good point.
6th, 5-6, 2025. Lots of 5s and 6s.
Good for a cribbage hand again.
Yet again.
Which, I will say, this weekend, at the event that I played, a friend of ours, Scott Bertard, his first ever Masters event. And I got to play some cribbage with him, which we tend to do frequently when we're together. And I took $20 off of him, so...
That
winning better than cashing in a tournament.
I was just gonna say that's more money than you cashed in the tournament.
Oh God, yes.
But it took away from what, his third place finish?
Yeah, yes, third, because there was a tie for first.
Yep.
That went to a playoff with the gentleman who I was staying with, Steve, and he missed an I don't want to call it embarrassing putt in the playoff, but a putt he should hit. But I said 18 feet. He said it was closer to 15.
Oh,
like he
didn't even.
No, he didn't even give himself the benefit. He ran at a big long 60, maybe not quite 60, about 50-foot jump putt. Went a little bit deep, clearly, and then just missed a comeback. A dumb one to push to get to the next hole, which is
the lefty hole. Let me guess.
The leftiest lefty hole that's out there.
That's what he gets. That's what he gets.
But you know what? That's things like that happen.
That's how it goes. Well, I believe Dustin Honold ultimately was the winner there in that playoff. So if you're from Wisconsin or the Midwest, also places we've seen Kale. That was one of the first early instances, I should say, of Kale coming over to Wisconsin
and whooping us
in this particular event a couple of decades ago. Dustin Honold, who's moved from Wisconsin over to Minnesota, I know often competes and will be now over there in that age-protected world, along with the likes of Kale this year. Speaking of which, I'll see if I can get a bunch of these out. First and foremost, among all that other age-protected conversation, not quite old enough by any means. Maybe one of them is. Madison Walker and Valerie Jenkins-Doss celebrating birthdays today. So
happy birthday,
happy
ladies.
Birthday to both of them. I'm not going to call out Madison and say she's old enough, but she's not. No, she's not for age protected. Her and I were giving a little light jabbing yesterday and ribbing back and forth. So happy birthday to the two of them. I know Karen Hawks, who's done a ton of stuff in the Charlotte area, also celebrating a birthday today. And then, as made known on air, what I've claimed is definitely one of the highest rated birthdays in the world is May 4th, when you're talking about
Star Wars, right? Everyone, May the 4th be with you.
Of course, and that means you're talking about Nate Sexton, who was recognized on air as he should have been. It was his birthday that day. Will Schusterich, a 3-time USDGC champion as well, and another USDGC champion and world champion, James Conrad. All celebrate the same birthday.
Yeah, highest rated birthday.
When you're talking about highly rated birthdays and having a good time, all of those guys celebrating birthdays recently. I know I kind of randomly throw out birthdays here and there, but that's pretty unique to have such superstars all on the exact same day.
If you're listening to this and your birthday's on May 4th, you're bringing down the average, buddy.
Yes,
so just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, I won't even make mention of it or dig you up on my Facebook feed.
But happy birthday to you. If you are listening to this and your birthday happens to be that day, you share it with some phenomenal disc golf players.
Yeah, where's your USDGC title?
And you should be looking in the mirror and saying, where's my title? Yes.
It seems like it's owed to you at this point.
I mean, you might as well. Or if you're very young and listening to this, if you're like 12, 13, this is your time to shine. This is, you're destined for it.
That's a good point. Also, it was then made clear that with this birthday, and this being his birthday year, Sexton eligible to play in MP40. And that's going to come to fruition real quick, as in like 2 days from now. He is signed up for the Tim Selinsky U.S. Masters, of which I'm heading to tomorrow, over in New Mexico.
I forgot you were going there.
So it will be pretty cool to see his breakout event, so to speak, in the Masters division. One other eligible master that is not going to be competing, and I believe I just saw he withdrew, so take him out of your Tim Selinsky fantasy. Jeremy Colling is withdrawing. I know Colling's been battling various
back issues or
injuries, no. And
I forget.
I just know that I saw on a list today. So if you got the Selinsky in your fantasy lineup, do people have that?
No, it's a Masters event. We don't do Masters events. Only Open.
You are so ageist.
Hey, listen.
And therefore ableist, probably, too.
Get good.
To some degree.
Get good. GITGUD.
I mean, come on. When
oh, sorry.
Sexton, Philo, those guys, they're good enough for open. So
then play there.
I'm not sure the tournament offers it, but you're right. So tonight, all this birthday silliness aside, tonight we're going to have in probably 15 or 20-ish minutes, we're going to have Missy Gannon joining us. Missy graciously said she would love to jump on the show. She is also, I believe, over on Tour Life. And then she says she has some dinner plans and reservations. So we're excited to have her on, have her pop in and say a quick hello and get whatever scoop we need to out of her and have a conversation with her. And then something else that we talked about being old.
I didn't say it.
He's not old, but
sure.
If you're a little bit old school in disc golf, you certainly know the name.
He's old.
Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, Bobby Brown.
Bobby's older than us.
That doesn't make him old.
That makes him old.
Older.
Makes him old. We're old. He's old. I'm sorry. That's how it works.
All right. Fine. Cool Daddy Slick Breeze.
He's a
Bobby
grandpa.
Brown.
He's a grandpa. That makes him old.
True. Okay.
Just like Jen Allen's a grandma. Sorry, Jen, you're old. Come get me.
I am not. I'm gonna go there.
I'll probably see her at WeOS Women's, and she'll probably
beat you up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So that's how the show's gonna go down tonight. Again, in 15 to 20 minutes or so, we'll have Missy Gannon joining us. After she departs, shortly after that, looking at probably the top of the hour at 9 o'clock Central is when we'll have Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, Bobby Brown, join us. Big news from him that was announced and hinted at and then ultimately announced yesterday is that Bobby Brown is taking over as the branding manager over at Dynamic Disc. He, of course, was one of the reasons that Dynamic Disc really took off and led the way in terms of social media for a number of years, was absolutely the front runner in doing videos and putting the branding out there in terms of just utilizing all various forms of social media. And he departed after a few years. We'll get more of that story, and now we'll talk about him coming back. So pretty cool to see. All right, of course.
I was gonna say, you know what else is old, Terry?
You?
No, I mean yes, but no. I was gonna say all the online talk about what happened this weekend.
I don't know. If you could just pull a few more horses out of the back, I'd like to beat those dead horses as well. No?
Why would I have dead horses?
I don't know what you got in your backyard.
Okay, that's
There's
true.
Weird stuff out there.
That's true. Because honestly, as we said, we don't want to talk to Missy about this at all. So we're not going to bring it up with her because the last thing we want to do is overshadow her victory. But I feel like we should quickly discuss what happened in the FPO field at the end of the tournament. That's what everybody wants to hear. It's what everybody wants to talk about. Hopefully we can finally at some point put it to bed. The PDGA marshal calling Kristen Lott on a foot fault on the 16th hole when she clearly foot faulted, and whether or not they should be making that call. Because I've seen so many different things online, different aspects of it. One, why are you calling this on the 16th hole when you didn't make any other calls throughout the event? I've seen people say, it's the end of the tournament. Why are you inserting yourself into this event? I've seen the same argument of like, it's, you're basically, what other sport doesn't more or less, as I say, swallow the whistle at the end of events, at the end of tournaments, at the end of these things when, why are we doing this? If the players didn't see it, why should the PDGA be calling it? I've seen a huge variety in different discussions and arguments. Surprisingly to me, almost, I would say it's 10-1, maybe 20-1 of people who think that call should not have been made versus people who think it is. And I'm of a different mind. I am more of the mind of you don't swallow the whistle. If you see something, say something. As they say in, I think, every airport.
You're a narc.
I am a narc. I'm going to get snitches get stitches is what I heard. So I'm just thinking of all these different scenarios, and you and I talked about it a little bit before the show, of when people would be upset if they saw this and he didn't make the call. What if Missy's down by one with 2-3 holes to go and he doesn't make the call? And all we see online now is Kristen kicking her disc. Disc's not out of her hand because we have internet sleuths that'll frame by frame it, just like the broadcast did. And now suddenly Kristen has this cloud over her win. She
gets the asterisk.
She gets the asterisk instead. And
okay.
Nobody wants to win like that with an asterisk. But I think like people would be upset at the PDGA. Like, dude, they had a marshal right there. I saw him. I was at the event. How did he not call that? Why do the PDGA even have marshals out there anyway? Like all these discussions versus, is it if it's tied, do you call it? If Missy's up by only one, should you call it? Because then you definitely interfered with the flow as opposed to Missy up by 2, dominating, playing so solid. I don't say dominating, but playing so solid. She was good. In my personal opinion, she was going to win that event no matter what happened. I don't care what the result was. She was able to play a little bit more freely the last 2 holes because of the extra stroke, but Missy was dialed in anyway. So I just think I see all these scenarios of people saying, how can you call this? And I'm looking at like, how can you not? If you want to have any respect as a marshal, if you want to have any respect as the PDGA, you call it when you see it. You're not going to call everyone. You're not going to see everyone. There's all this video of Andrew Marweed going around, stepping on his disc for a forehand.
Sure.
I get it. You're going to miss calls. Everyone is. Because maybe the marshal was watching a different player who walked over to someone who was closer to an OB line. And then Marweed was first, so he got to throw. Or unless you want to have 4 marshals on the hole to watch every player, or you want to completely slow down pace of play and say we have to wait for that marshal to get to every player before they throw. I just don't think there's not a winning argument in this. Nobody, no matter who you are. And me personally, I just want to see the calls made, the right calls. And as we saw, this was the right call. Like, it was a correct call that her foot slipped, bumped her disc before she let go of the disc. You make the call. She made a mistake at the worst time. That's the way I look at it. Not that the ref made the marshal made a bad call at the wrong time. She made a mistake at the worst time.
I think one of the biggest challenges, and I believe this was maybe the case with like the Marweed situation, which was, as you said, pointed out. When you're at especially a course like Swenson, and you're talking about players potentially being hundreds of feet apart. Someone goes left, is near an OB line, as you said. Someone goes right and is near an entirely different OB line. They could be 200 feet apart from each other. And I don't know where Marweed is relative to anyone else at that point, but let's just say somewhere he's 200 feet away.
Somewhere, relative to
to another player.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like you said, I think one of the biggest challenges will always be, how are you going to see everything? Can you possibly? And obviously the answer is you can't.
In no sport can you. It's just the way it works.
Well, especially in this situation, I'm saying of a fairway, because you and I both know if 4 people throw, all 4 people kind of go their general way. Let's just assume everyone is inbounds. And then at that point, you're not necessarily seeing everything that's happening. Now, that's the other funny part is the discussion about a marshal and what a marshal's role is, we can have that conversation. But then also, we're still a self-officiating sport, which is largely the argument by a lot of the people saying, hey, none of the people on the card called this, therefore it didn't seem to be an issue. And we're self-officiated in that way. What I think I struggle with the most from the commentary online is, where's the consistency? Either we do or we don't want them. And I think we have to be okay with the fact that some things are going to get missed and some things are going to get called. Like, it's truly every sport. Mm-hmm. Like, it's going to happen. And I'm not suggesting like I want it to, or it's great, or it's no big deal. Of course, it was very impactful. Nobody's denying that. I just think bigger picture, we do have to think, what do we want out of our marshals? And let me tell you,
there's a good discussion there.
There are 100 hairs out there that are trying to get split 1,000 ways for what they should or shouldn't be in charge of now. And that's what I have found most amusing, because nobody wants to call 30 seconds on someone putting. Nobody wants to call that exceeding 30 seconds. So there's a marshal that's often there, or it's brought to their attention. Some people don't want like this call or that call on whatever the scenario is. There's a marshal there for that. I found it interesting that this weekend in particular, a lot of people said, well, the marshal's not there for that reason, though, in terms of calling this foot fault. And
well,
I'm not saying that's right or wrong.
Are they not there for any foot faults? We're not there for close foot faults. If she had stepped on her disc, and should the marshal then be like, or should he call it and be like, did anyone see that? Does the marshal need a second? I've seen that. People are saying the marshal should definitely get a second. Because, again, there's 1,000 scenarios you can play out. Again, personally, you see it, you call it. And it's going to be difficult. Because, and again, the last thing you want is we've seen what happens when other players do make a call. The internet goes nuts and says they're ganging up on her. Look at that. That was a ticky-tack call. Look at throw pink when Holland went OB. And then Missy came, or I think it was Missy.
No, it was Kristen. Kristen and Holland in the playoff?
No. But when Holland threw OB, I think Missy was there and said, yeah. And then there was all this uproar about, look, the two Discraft players just ganging up on her. Like they're calling her on that. Like there's just no winning. Because do you think Missy wants to call Kristen on what is, even if she had seen it, which we're assuming she didn't because she wasn't around there. But if that had happened, now people are going to be shading Missy for calling that at this time. It's just, a rule is a rule. It sucks. Personally, as I've said about the jump putt and everything like that, I don't like bang bang calls if we can avoid them. Mm-hmm. There are ways around this that we can adjust the rule. The same thing that I talked about jump putts, where you increase the size of the lie, pull it back more so players have more room to step, and jump putt and do whatever, would eliminate that. Because then you have more space behind the disc. And you could easily say, if you cross the plane at all, it's a stroke. That would make this much, whether the disc is out of your hand or not, until you maintain balance. You should never cross the line of your lie without maintaining balance, And so that would make it even more obvious. Now, again, this is wishful thinking because these are rules that aren't in play. And as I also said, that new lie needs to be called a SmashBoxx. So we're getting it in there. It's got to be called that. But yeah, so anyway, there's a ton of different scenarios, or a ton of different ideas out there. The ref made the call. He made the right call. I hope, for everyone's sake, no one's blaming or no one's going after him personally.
Oh, too late.
I know. I can hope, because people are idiots. But that's just the way it is. And I'm glad the PDGA has marshals out there. So
let's just say in your scenario, or maybe the internet scenario, which I'm not opposed to the suggestion. So the people that have said, hey, the group or someone in the group calls it, and then a marshal can or cannot second it. Could you imagine where someone calls it and then the marshal says, I didn't see it, right? Like, I didn't see that. Just imagine the uproar when it would, let's just say it was an obvious foot fault of some kind. Mm-hmm. And then the uproar is, what is a marshal doing out there? How did they not see that? Yeah. How are they not calling?
Why even have them out there?
Why even have them out there? I just feel like it's it's really difficult. I understand the timing of it. I understand that not every single thing throughout the weekend is called. And it feels unfortunate. Mm-hmm. So much more magnified, not just because of the event, but now we've seen a few scenarios that have not fallen in Kristen's favor at some of these large events. I'll be the first to say, though, the PDGA just awarded like 4 majors in 5 years or whatever it was to Estonia. There's nothing but respect for Kristen. So to think that a PDGA employee is potentially out there with a chip on their shoulder to try and get after Kristen, as some have potentially suggested, I think is also crazy. Anyway, I don't know. It's difficult. The timing's goofy. I get all of that. There have been, let's just say I've read 1,000 comments. I think I've seen 3 that I think like are pointed and fruitful and could be considered. I think that's my percentage right now of about 3 of them. 900 plus.
Thankfully I've kind of stayed away from like the Facebook and the Reddits of it. We've been having some other discussions privately on some chat rooms that I feel are most of them are much more level-headed. There's still people that are just upset, and I get it. If she's your favorite player and whatnot,
I mean, Doc brings up just for a moment, even like, I think there's a conversation that can also be had about Silver being, of course, a very loud advocate, but at the end of the day, he's quote unquote just the caddy.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, becomes another conversation. This is a lesson to be learned here of what are we, what's the caddy's role? Because we can penalize
usually carry the discs.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, we can penalize a caddy for they're an extension of the player. So it's interesting that are they an extension of a player when they're having a conversation at that same time, or should that be the player that is essentially, arguing for themselves, or is the caddy at any point part of that conversation? I just there are some great takeaways of things that can be analyzed and broken down a little bit more and considered. So, dare I say there's some silver lining here, or there's something that can be learned. Yeah, it was. I don't know. I'm not hanging anyone out to dry. There's a whole lot of what ifs in a lot of different scenarios. My last one would be think of your least favorite FPO player. Everybody's got one, whoever it is. Think of your least favorite FPO player and swap them with Kristen in that situation. Are you saying, yeah, way to go, PDGA, way to enforce the rules? I love to see that. Like, Kristen is beloved, as she should be. She's been nothing but a stand-up ambassador for our sport and a professional in every possible way. Again, take your least favorite FPO player, swap them with Kristen, and tell me if you feel the same in that situation. Because I bet you there's a lot of people that would be barking a different tune.
Mm-hmm.
Just something to think about. For whatever it's worth. If we want to talk about the rules and how they're applied, I think that's a scenario as well. Maybe they're not as popular, maybe they're not as well liked, maybe whatever. But a different person, I think, gets a different reaction.
I'm sure.
Fair or not. Just think about it that way.
And maybe if Kristen wasn't so good and she wasn't always in contention for the win, these would happen less to her.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're not arguing with any marshals on any lead cards.
No,
nor am I.
No. I mean,
they can't even find me.
I was close to winning this weekend with about 2 holes to go. And then a marshal came up to me and I tanked and finished almost last. Yes. 2 holes. Who knew?
That's just the marshal working you.
I was just about to get on a run too.
You were just about to get the next 30 birdies on the next 2 holes.
That's right. That's super eagle them or something.
I don't know. Anyway,
that's about as much as we can say.
That's all I've got. I could go on for hours, and I don't need to or want to. It really, I see lots of different sides of it. Clearly. And the overall situation is unfortunate as much as it was. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want opinions, they're definitely out there.
Yeah, there's some good ones. There's some really, really specific, pointed solutions, ideas, suggestions. Nothing that's going to get implemented tomorrow, but there's some suggestions out there, and I can get on board with some of them.
Mostly mine.
I don't know about that. I'm not gonna go that far. All right. Missy has seen a message, and it looks like she might be getting ready here sometime soon.
Fantastic.
I have sent her some information for her to join us, and I think it's going to be very soon.
Great. Real quick, while Missy joins, we'll talk about some of the other, we'll just kind of go through the top 10 for FPO here. Missy wins, as we're about to chat with her about that. Kristen takes second by 2 strokes. Paige Pierce showing up really well this week. Had a rough final round compared to some of our other ones, but ultimately in third place, shooting a 22 under par. Silva Saarinen, 18 under par. Really just a rough third and fourth round for her. Mm-hmm. The fourth round wasn't as bad as the third round, but it really knocked her out of contention when she was up there for the win. Holland Hanley fights her way back, gets to fifth place. Evelina Salonen, sixth place. Seventh place, Anniken Sten. Eighth place, Katrina Allen. Ninth place, Kat Murch. And a tie for 10th between Henna Blomroos and Hannah Wynn. Hannah Wynn putting up some good numbers the last few weeks. I don't know if she's just on a hot streak or if she's improved overall her game. I guess we'll kind of have to wait to see. Hindsight's going to be 2020 on that. But overall, she's been playing very well the last couple weeks. So I'm excited. I'm excited to kind of see where her trajectory goes.
Yeah, and there's great little storylines within every one of those top 10 competitors. Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you just mentioned, what Hannah's been doing this particular weekend was great, especially such a hot start. Katrina Allen is back. This is her first major since she's been back, finishing in the top 10. Anniken was putting on some insane putting performance, just draining them what felt like from everywhere in Circle 2. She had an incredibly hot start. What was she, 6 under through the front 9 during that final round and slowed down a little to finish. Evelina with a title defense coming up short, but having a good final round. Holland finishing off the podium
for the first time
this year, which
not the time you want to do it.
No, but at the same time, like that's like kind of still a backhanded compliment.
Super impressive.
Oh, way to go. Silva, who's been a contender all year, and feels like she's obviously still just right there when it comes to event after event. And for more than a minute, you thought this was Silva's event to win.
Yep.
The way she was playing, just the fact that we've seen Pierce get so much more comfortable at that park and at that course and in that place, to see that she was absolutely contending for a win and had the big throw in. I mean, every one of those women had their own side stories that kept things very interesting throughout. And the fact that we had 3 or 4 women where it felt like it could have been a coin toss, and then the momentum shifts were so heavy in that you saw the double bogey by Kristen on the 8th, which no one saw coming where she was.
The 4-putt she took?
Yeah. I mean, when's the last time she did that? Almost never. So just all of the, everything that unfolded, and then watching Missy's dominance of going into final rounds with a lead. And I know that was talked about on the broadcast. So awesome to see it. So many different angles in order to take in the event and consume it. This is one of the events that I consumed a little bit more than normal, in the sense that I was essentially an at-home spectator for it and viewer for it. And, of course, MPO and FPO both had me at the edge of my seat, but some good battles. It was awesome to see. So congratulations, Missy Gannon, on the win, which, like I said, we'll have soon. Real quick on the MPO side,
Isaac Robinson.
Great battle there as well, of course.
Yeah, Isaac Robinson getting his 4th major.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, in like the last 3 years or something.
Sure. I mean, he's 24 now.
He's getting old. Yeah, he's probably getting old. AB taking second by a stroke and fighting back that last round to shoot an 8 down in that wind. It was very impressive. Really lighting up the back 9. He got 6 out of the last 9 holes to storm up the leaderboard. When I first looked at it, because I'd missed most of the final round, I looked at it, I was like, holy crap, AB's in the lead. And then I looked at him like, I was like, oh, well, he was in the clubhouse.
8 holes ahead of everybody.
And he was ahead of everybody. So I'm like, oh, they're probably going to catch him. But you never know with this wind. And ultimately, it was closer than even I thought it was going to be. Third place, Andrew Marweed, his best finish at a major. Andrew, just a putting machine, no doubt. Fourth place, Gannon Burr, who jumped up 4 places that final round, shooting 22. Tie for 5th between Adam Hammis. Still just a really great year for Adam. Just continuing from the beginning of the season all the way through here. I think he's had 1 bad event all season. So congratulations, Adam. Ricky Wysocki. It's hard to say anything about Ricky here because I know how Ricky feels. He feels this was a disappointment, only finishing 5th. Still technically probably improving his his average major finish, which I think is like 6.7 they said on the broadcast. So he still took top 5. But with Ricky, if it's not a win, it's a disappointment. As well as 5th place, Sullivan Tipton. A great showing from Sully, playing just in general, really good golf. Tie for 8th, Calvin Heimberg, who want to talk about someone stormed up the leaderboard. Calvin coming up 24 spots.
Kind of a final round thing.
Yeah, it really is. If he could just kick that gear in a little quicker, Vinny, and we'll maybe round 3 next time. Let's work on round 3 and get round 4. Let's do both rounds.
I mean, you do it round 3 and 4.
If you need a caddy to tell you that, let me know. I'll just, if those are thoughts that you're missing out on.
It's like, gosh, I wonder what I could do better. And you're just standing there with his bag on your back, and you're just like, I don't know. Hey, I think we should shoot like course record like here on moving day.
I think, yeah.
And he'd look at you
like, what? Yeah, trust me.
Why did I never think of that?
You just never know. Tied with Vinny was Ezra Aderhold, who as well has had a pretty solid season this year. And Andrew Presnell, which might be the surprise of the event, finishing top 10. He was the champion last year on a completely different style of course. We're talking tight lines, super wooded, rainy. This was more wide open, windy, and long. And Prez came through. He shot a 20 under to take top 10. So what a great back-to-back showing for him in these Champion Cups. Ben Calloway as well, tied for 8th. Ben, this is a course that kind of feels like it sets up well for Ben. Nice and open and long. He's a pretty good thrower.
He does like to throw that frisbee hard.
He does.
And far.
So that's your top 10 in MPO. Again, Isaac being really the story here. Not a lot of people were picking him to win this.
I'm not sure he picked him.
Maybe
for
not.
His interview. Of course, he always has confidence and whatnot, but I don't know that he necessarily thought, oh yeah, this is this is where I notch the belt yet again for another major title. But that guy knows how to get it done.
He's just
so impressive.
He's just so consistent. 7 down first round, 9 down second round, 3 down third round, a little bit rougher of a round, and another 7 down. He just
back. I'm sorry. Did he have was it 3 or 6 bogeys on the whole weekend? 1, 2.
Oh,
there. Okay, it must have been 6 because there's 4. Yeah.
2, 4, 6. Six bogeys.
6 bogeys, including obviously.
I think he only went OB twice. Is what I heard.
The bogey-free final round. So impressive. The Doss, I think Doss or Sexton were talking, or maybe might have been Ian actually, who was just talking about leading the categories this weekend.
First of all, I want to apologize to our guest who's sitting there in a different waiting room than I
Seriously?
have. Yeah, you must have given her the wrong code. Way to go, Terry.
Not my fault.
No, I think it is. So give me a split second there, Missy.
Right, I apologize.
Missy. I don't know how long she's been there. We've just been jabbering on,
waiting for her
to show up. Because
I think I gave her an older code that we must not be using often.
Thanks, Ter.
So that's my bogey.
That is.
If Isaac can have 6, we'll count that as 3 for me. Here at this major.
Right, hold on 1 second.
1 second. We'll get Missy all dialed in here.
I get her in. Oh my God, I feel so bad.
I was thinking, I gave her the info. I'm surprised I don't see her popping up either. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, you're the worst, Terry. All right, now, without any further ado, we are going to bring in our guest, the major winner from the Champions Cup, Missy Gannon. Thanks for waiting while we just babbled about the MPO. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Welcome, and congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, the one thing I need to know, where are you going to dinner tonight? You said you got dinner plans. Where's the dinner?
Well, we're actually still in the Stockton area, but we're up in Lodi, which is, nice little wine country, sort of. So, we're just trying out a restaurant that looked really good, and probably going to get myself a filet mignon or like a porterhouse or something. So yeah.
Well deserved.
Yeah, you already are then answering what was my follow-up to that, which is if you don't win, are the dinner plans tonight as nice and expensive? As in, did you go a little nicer for the treat tonight?
Maybe so. But yeah, actually, also on the May 3rd, it was Telman and I's anniversary, 2-year anniversary. So yeah, so it's a little bit of everything kind of wrapped up.
Well, happy anniversary!
Happy anniversary! Yeah,
congrats.
Thank you.
So the whirlwind, that is the first major of the season. It's officially done. You've had a couple of days, although I'm sure they've been super intense, media obligations and everything else. Here we are, about a little more than 48 hours later. How does it feel now? What is settled in?
Yeah, I would say, honestly, when I was on the green and, they rush you with like, well, obviously, Holland and Ella come and they're spraying champagne and like I'm trying to hug people and they're, rushing you around to get you the trophy. Like, it's not like I've obviously been in that situation before, but it felt like I was just sort of so disoriented, the most I've ever felt in any of my wins. I was just like, where am I? Like, I didn't know if I should just like jump into the pond for some reason or
yes.
like,
the answer is yes.
I would have, but unfortunately there's a lot of like concrete chunks in there that it would not be very safe. But anyway, but I thought that would be a really good idea if they could clean that up and make that a thing. But yeah, it felt so crazy. But now that I've had a little bit of time, yeah, it's just I'm able to kind of just bask in it. And it's funny because it's like as a professional athlete, like I feel like it just feels like you're on to the next one, and most of the time, and I'm lucky that I have an off week and I can kind of really take it all in and really feel all the feelings. So yeah, this one feels extra special. I mean, the first one always feels great, and that was just last year. So I feel like I was still sort of riding that high a little bit, but yeah, I think there's just something about being able to do it again. I think that really holds a big space in my heart.
Some people, I think Isaac is one of them, states that like he doesn't really do a lot different come majors, in terms of prep or overthinking or thinking about them in general. Is there anything that you do where you kind of ramp up really anything or change any of your routines or anything when it comes to having that 4-round major coming up?
Yeah, not really. I know I've got a few years on Mr. Isaac, but for me, it's like, I just really tried to, we had, 2 layouts, albeit they weren't that different, but there were certainly some things we all had to take into consideration and remember, what hole was for what layout, So I think the preparation was a big deal for me. And, I played 3 practice rounds, which is pretty typical. But I prioritized, one layout, one practice round, and the other practice round, because again, I can't just be throwing a million shots every time I'm out there. And so, yeah, nothing really changed for me personally, but yeah, I just tried to make sure I wasn't overdoing it and, over practicing. I got a pretty good grasp on both layouts, and turns out that I only needed a captain's thrasher this weekend pretty much, so that helped a lot to just have one option off the tee and feel really good about it. But so yeah, having a simple game plan was really key as well for me.
Did you like having the different courses? I call them different courses. I know it's the same course, but the different layouts. Did you like the basket changes, or would you prefer just a uniform course for all 4 rounds?
I liked it. I liked it to an extent, especially for a major. We see it for like Worlds. We typically have more than one course, and it's been like 2 nowadays. But I think it is nice to have even if they're just slightly different, like just holes that the pin changes a little differently is a little different, or we had some of them were completely different holes in the same general area, but yeah, I do like having like a slightly different pin. I mean, you think about like hole 13, it's a par 3 for the MPO and par 4 for us. It's to the island green, and like there was 2 pin positions, and maybe visually they don't look that different, but it really does change your approach into that green. And I think just subtle changes like that, I think are a nice just way to mix things up over a 4-day event. So I really like it, actually.
To follow up on the course, and I understand there might be a little bias, and now that you've hoisted the trophy, but
she broke the trophy too.
Lots of our conversation gets talked. A lot of the conversation has been, this started at WR Jackson. When we had to move out of that wooded section, we ultimately were able to get into the wooded, Northwood last year. Well, what is now that we played an entirely different style of course at Swenson? Did it matter? Does it do the job? I don't want to degrade it, but did it do the job? Do you know what I mean? Did it check the right boxes for you competing for a major?
Well, I think that it's interesting because, with the birth of the Champions Cup being at the IDGC, and those are just pretty much only wooded courses there, it felt like that was like the standard. I don't think it was like a written rule that Champions Cup had to be on wooded courses, but it just felt like that was like unspoken, especially with it when it had to move and we ended up going to Northwood Black. It just felt like, okay, maybe we're going to stick with this. And that's totally cool with me. I mean, I have found plenty of success on wooded courses. So if I'm just talking from a personal standpoint, but I think that it certainly still had a very major feel. The California people really came out and showed support. The galleries were great, and the viewing areas were really fun, I think, for everybody. Both the players having, an island full of people that sounded like pirates was fun. And yeah, just being able to have those different options and having a nice, sort of vending tournament central sort of area that people could just stay there all day if they have young children or whatever, and, maybe can't walk around the whole time. I think that they did a really great job at having a lot of those amenities, and it felt intense. There was a lot of people out there. It felt pretty grand to me. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Champions Cup should stay wooded or what. I'm not really sure. I think they just want it to be one of the best, most prestigious events of the year, and I think that their decision to go to Swenson accomplished that.
Yeah, I think the Sean's, clearly 1,000 Rated Productions and Sean and everyone else they work with have done a phenomenal job. I understand there was some backlash and criticism about just the style of the course, but they put up this great bid that it seems like it delivered. And like you said, I think the people showing up. So with all that being said, as funny as it might be, best off-course moment throughout the week or weekend. What whether it was at night during a relaxation or pre or post, what was the best off-course moment of the weekend?
So like I said, I didn't really do anything differently than I normally do, and so I'm a early going to bed kind of person. There's a lot of temptation to go hang out at OTB every night, and that's an amazing time. It's so fun, but I almost went one of the nights, but I decided not to do that, and saved it for Sunday, which I think was perfect because it was sort of a nice little celebration. But yeah, I think my favorite, honestly, we travel with a camper, and so we get campgrounds and things like that, and every once in a while we'll sort of splurge a little bit and get maybe a nicer RV resort or whatever, and that's what we do every year here. And really just being able to soak in the hot tub and go in the cold pool and just really just, treat myself. Yeah, I think that was probably the best part about, during the tournament. But yeah, certainly Sunday night going to OTB is always a blast.
That was my follow-up. Is OTB the main attraction, or did you guys pre-party there and then go elsewhere? What does Sunday night look like after a major victory? That's what I'm here for. That's what I need to know.
Yeah. Well, right away after the victory, I had to go get food because, you're at the course for a lot of extra hours after you've already been there for hours, which I love. I love the interactions with the fans and being able to do, be there and hang out. So yeah, right away I went to a good little Korean barbecue spot right around the corner. And then, yeah, just sort of rested up knowing that we're going to go to OTV later that night and just play music, sing. My voice is just coming back today from just, having basically karaoke, but with live, musicians. Yeah, live musicians. So that was really sweet. And yeah, it's just a really good way to kind of unwind and relax and, yeah, just let loose a little bit.
I would feel remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about what happened on the course as far as hole 18. Mm-hmm. You're going into that with 3 strokes. Did you purposefully throw out of bounds? Like, I know you were probably trying to keep it left. Was that the game plan? Just like get OB, get up there in OB, don't even risk the right side, or were you trying to kind of keep it in bounds on that throw?
I would have loved for it to stay in bounds. Honestly, best case scenario, I was trying to park it, but not really. Every round, no matter what round it was, my plan was to be left. I can throw a Raptor pretty easily and land safe in bounds most of the time. I think the 2 times I did throw a B on that hole on the second shot was because we had a ripping right to left crosswind, and that includes the final round. Now, thankfully, I had the ability to be okay with the fact that it went OB. But I certainly wasn't if I was just trying to throw it OB, I would have just not even thrown it over the water at all, probably, but, yeah, no, it was just I knew I could go OB, but I was still hoping to land somewhere safe, maybe ideally 45 feet left or something. But yeah, I knew that no matter what round it was, the miss is left. If you're throwing it in the water, you're either it's because you have to throw it in to make the cut or something, or you made a mistake. Yeah.
We know you get a ton of support. We want to make sure you get a chance to thank and recognize them. And then the follow-up to, your supporters and sponsors that you can mention is, can we assume there's going to be some form of commemorative disc or release, or whether if it's a disc, maybe there's apparel or bags or whatever. What are we looking at here to celebrate?
Yeah, we'll certainly see something. Maybe a nice little pre-release or limited edition Captain's Thrasher. As I said, it was my most thrown disc on the course this last week, and I've been throwing it a lot in general. So, yeah, keep your eye out for something like that. Discraft is always on it. They're ready to go, and I mean, they have to because they've got a lot of really great players that are going to be winning this year and have already. So, yeah, they're great, and yeah, keep your eyes out for that. And that's pretty much it.
All right. I threw a lot of Thrashers this weekend. Not the Captain Thrasher, but I threw a lot of Thrashers. So maybe I'm going to have to pick up a Captain Thrasher because my Thrasher's starting to flip a little bit too much for me.
I think you need to pick up lessons more than the disc. You need to pick up lessons from Missy.
No, everybody knows if you want to throw better.
No, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right. Just
everybody knows
more discs.
It's about the discs. It's not about the practice. Yeah. Everybody knows that, Terry.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Missy, thank your sponsors. Thank all your sponsors if you'd like. Go ahead and shout them out.
Yeah, so again, Discraft, they've been my biggest sponsor for a very long time, and grip equipment, best bags you could find, whale sacks, my friends, basically my family, and Ledgestone. You know, they're all a big part of why I'm out here and why I'm able to continue to find success. So yeah, can't shout them out enough.
Well, one final question for you is, the only way someone can sweep or win all the majors is by starting with getting the first one, which you've done. So the question is, does something like sweeping the majors, has that entered your mind? No one else can do it.
Well, no, and you are, maybe you've been talking to my friend Ben, because he texted me pretty much right away and said, "Hey, you're the only one that can do that this year." So
that's exactly
get it. So yeah, maybe I wasn't thinking about it before that, but I certainly am now, and yeah, I'm just happy to be in that position to have that as a possibility. So
you're the only one that can do it now. Missy, we're going to respect your time very much. We want you to go enjoy your dinner.
Nice big steak. Get the extra large one.
Exactly. The big steak, hopefully some candles and wine and everything else with the beloved Tom, and enjoy your night. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for waiting a little extra when we didn't see you. But seriously, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it. We know all our Smashies appreciate you jumping in here as well.
Yeah, thank you guys for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Have a good night.
Have a good
Take
night,
care.
Missy. Thanks.
You too. Good night. Bye.
Good night. See ya. Missy Gannon.
She's a professional. She just waited in the green room after your
just hung out.
Monster screw up.
We very much appreciate getting a little piece of her time here tonight, as I know everyone is pulling on her and wants to have conversations. And I love that, going out to dinner and soaking it all in. And one of my favorite takeaways being that she is not competing this weekend. There's events going on.
I don't blame her. There's the Masters Cup Q Series, primarily, which a lot of players are going to go to.
Yeah, and there's other events that people, someone like Ben Calloway, I saw him post earlier today, so glad to be home. He's back in Iowa already after being in California. Mm-hmm. And a lot of players going to a lot of different places, taking a week off or just flying back to wherever maybe they came from. And I just love that she's going to be able to fully soak it in and doesn't have to go out and compete at yet another event. And I don't know, I love that for her. That's something our major winners hopefully can be awarded or rewarded with.
Not the other players though. Every other player should be playing this weekend to
get
better.
If you can't beat Missy, you better be out playing somewhere else.
You best be playing.
Yeah, you got it. So yes, that's a lesson to all those non-winners.
Yeah, don't take the time off.
You need to be out there. So love it. Again, thank you to Missy for joining us. What did we see earlier? $11,000 paycheck? Was that what I saw?
That is what you saw. It was $11,000 for FPO and $15,000 for MPO, I believe.
Oh, I thought it was 16.
Or was it 16 for MPO?
Either way. I remember not so long ago.
Oh, you're old. Don't talk about it. You say this every time. 11,000 would have been.
No, I'm thinking about a Worlds. I think of when the FPO Worlds win was 10 grand, and we understandably got massive, and that wasn't even that long ago. But an FPO Worlds win for 10 grand was
a big deal,
a really big deal. And this is a major, $11,000. Yeah, absolutely love it. And as we just said, Isaac Robinson with $16,000.
Anthony Barella got $9,500 for second place.
Yeah. Round that. I'm not putting in the money, but round that up to 10K. It just looks so much more impressive.
No, I don't want that.
I do.
I want Isaac to be the only 5-digit person there. Yeah. Sorry, AB. 9,999. That's what you should have got.
Doc Zen says Terry remembers back when players won Worlds and got 2 copper pennies and a bag of chips.
Yeah,
we weren't far off.
Not too far off. This is the first. Speaking of Isaac Robinson, this is the first major he's won without Dad on the bag.
Maybe he has said it in an interview. I have not consumed other.
Do we even need Dad anymore?
I was surprised, to be honest with you. Like the fact that he's got the track record that he does, and maybe he said it on another interview. If one of our guests have seen, or I'm sorry, one of our viewers have seen where that's maybe been asked or of him. But yeah, walking up the 18th fairway, it like really hit me. Like, wait, because I saw his wife out there walking along with him,
Was she the caddy?
She's probably deemed the support
person,
the support person. So Dad in theory couldn't have been on the bag with her that close. So they both couldn't have been having that role. But there's. I mean, if somebody knows something that I don't, which isn't anything new.
If you don't necessarily go into the event thinking that you're going to win, maybe you don't buy Dad a ticket out there.
I don't know. Right now, Dad should be pre-booked for every major
at this
for the
point.
next 2 years.
Right? I mean, is Isaac not the best major player we have right now?
Yes.
I mean, I talked after round 1 about, as I called him, Major Macbeth. Because Macbeth came out with a 14 under par, almost an 1100 rated round. And I was so excited. I was like, this dude, he's here for the majors. That's what he does. And then he didn't. But Isaac, he is so solid. On a course that seemed to favor forehand throwers or lefties, depending on how the arm you decide to use. I think I saw him throw one this weekend.
Oh, that's one more than I saw, but I didn't watch every minute.
It was an approach, I think on like hole 3, maybe it was hole 2. I forget exactly the holes because they renumbered them. But and I think the third day I saw him throw an approach forehand, and he parked it. It was like probably a 300-foot shot, 280-foot shot. He pinned it because he can throw them when he needs to. He just doesn't need to very often. And I'll say this now.
Half around with a forehand if you don't need to.
I think it's probably going to help him in the long run. We seem to see a lot of these players that throw forehand have a lot of elbow and shoulder issues. So I think that if he can keep the forehands to a minimum,
it might enhance his longevity.
But I think there's more to that than what we've seen in the past, where the players are playing longer courses and whatnot. So you're throwing more and harder and longer and further. That I don't know if it's going to matter. But either way, Isaac Robinson, age 24, 4 majors. He's officially legend. Wait for it. Dairy.
Yeah, he pointed it out, as did the graphic during the broadcast, the end of the broadcast. We're talking about who's on that list of majors and how many do they have, and the the Dosses, Schustricks, Felberg, so on and so forth. And the fact that he's on there with 4 right now, and that they've come in this clump or spurt, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, this clumping of them is just so incredibly impressive. And
is he a flash in the pan, Terry? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. The crazy part about winning at the IDGC on that style of course, and then winning at Swenson, just not that he had to prove anything. He wasn't proving anything to anyone that we didn't already know, but to further shine a light on the idea of how he can win, that it doesn't matter. And then obviously sandwiched in between those 2 wins, being his second Worlds win, where he saw both the Ivy Hill course and the New London course proving there yet again. Where's hole 1 and what's the course record or whatever they say, like the course doesn't matter. It's Isaac Robinson is there trying to hunt down a major title.
He's got them titers wrapped
maybe he'll
up.
Buy a Tesla as I sputter my words out. Anyway, speaking of majors, I don't know where this guy he served us well. I don't know all the titles that he had. Maybe he can share some of those with us. But one title, besides being Bobby Brown, besides being Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, this gentleman is the brand manager again.
I don't know if he was brand manager before, if he was like media director.
So he just keeps making up his own titles. That's good enough for us. You can't win one, you make one up. None other than Cool Daddy Slick Breeze. Bobby Brown joining us on the show. Hey, Bobby?
I'm trying to fix my camera. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Now we
fine.
can hear you.
I was waiting and waiting because I saw you you cleaning off the camera lens, and I'm like, all right, Terry, milk it a little more, milk it a little more.
Hey, we're the brand about transparency, and so
That's right.
transparency. I'm trying to clean off my camera.
Getting things all cleaned up. Bobby Brown, Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, joins us.
First of all, welcome back
What's
to the
up?
show.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the sport.
Yes,
Where were you?
Yeah, why did you vanish? What
Since you've
happened?
been gone.
I've been on a research and development, search and discovery, just seeing the world, trying to find myself, all the things.
Oh yeah, live.
How many
pray,
books did you
eat, or
write?
something?
How many books? None.
Eat,
I didn't
love,
write any books.
pray.
Eat, love, pray. That's what it was.
That
yeah.
too.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of it. You've done it all.
Yeah.
All right. For those few that may not know, give us a little background. You're Bobby Brown, but what's going on?
Where do I start? I mean,
there's
Where did you start?
we have COVID kids listening who might not know you.
that's true. That's very true. And I'm starting to realize that by some of the comments I'm seeing. So, but
Who's this guy?
I mean, it goes for me. It goes back to about 2009 when someone introduced me to disc golf because they needed help with a website. They were going to have the Green Country Open, which was, we called them NTs back then.
Mhm.
And they were going to have it in Pahuska at the lodge at Taylor Ranch. And so I helped them with that and did some video work and some photography work, and people were loving it. And I thought, well, this is cool. I could do this. I wanted to do something in media. And then as I started to get to know people in the PDGA and meeting different people, I thought, this is I want to do this. I want to see what I can do with disc golf. I felt that it was like there was some media out there, but it needed some more. And I wanted to be one of the guys that brought more to it. And so I dove all in. I worked with Terry Miller back in the day, Disc Golf Planet. We did some work there. And then I did some work for the PDGA, created some commercials from back in the day, but mostly followed Dynamic Discs on their early tournament scene and I created DVDs, tournament DVDs back in the day. I remember seeing Billy Crump doing his Clash DVDs, and I thought I could do that. I could do that. So I did that for a little bit, and then Joe Miz came along and ruined it for everybody and started putting stuff free on YouTube.
Oh, those.
There goes my DVDs. So tried to do some of the online stuff in YouTube, and then finally, so from 2009 to about 2013, I was doing it part-time for Dynamic Discs, helping them grow the brand, starting their YouTube channel, started their Instagram and Facebook. And then 2014, they grew big enough to say, come on board, we'll get you full-time. So I moved out to Emporia, Kansas, and did it full-time and had a team of people creating content for the channels. And I took a little bit of a break, had to take a break in 2021, needed to get back to some of my roots, back to family, back in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I did some social media freelancing for WhaleSack, for Disc Golf Strong, for Idio Sports. And then I did some consulting for a few disc golf stores, for a few realtors. I helped them with some social media coaching, and then did some social media for Clash Discs. Started to connect more with them and thought I could help them build in the USA. Well, that didn't quite work out. Building a business is really hard, and especially when that's your only income. So I decided, well, I'm telling you the whole story, just one big wham, bam.
Yeah,
We're here for it.
And then decided I need a regular paycheck, got a job at Shields in Tulsa. And they actually sell Dynamic Disc Westside and Latitude 64. I remember when I got the interview and I told them about my history, they were like, you don't own part of it, do you? And I said, no, I don't own, because it would have been a conflict of interest. So anyway, I got the job there, did their social media, worked my way up to marketing director. And then about a month ago, got reached out to by David Berglund. Had a few conversations there, and they said, we want you back. And I was like, it took you long enough. and so no, I was very thankful, and I was appreciative that he called or reached out. And after a few meetings, they said, let's have you back. And here I am. I'm back on the scene and loving life. I love it.
So now you're not in Emporia full time now. Is that correct?
No, right. So it was something I wanted to do from the get-go when I had made the decision to go back home or to move back home. I wanted to do some kind of remote because I have felt like it had been a proven model of remote work through COVID, because during the pandemic, we were at home creating content. We were going out filming and then creating content and then uploading it to the internet I remember at the time I was living with, you might have heard of a guy named Robert McCall. So I was living with him for a little bit in the basement. They had a pretty big house and I was in the basement. We were doing it all remote from there. But it just wasn't, the leadership at the time just didn't want that to happen. But thankfully now the leadership now is kind of like, we can do it. So I'm going to spend, if I had to break it down of percentages, it's going to be 50-50, 50% in Oklahoma, 50% here in Emporia, Kansas, filming, traveling, gathering content. And then that way, when I'm at home, I can just be busting out content, video reviews and stuff like that from stuff I filmed. So it's going to be interesting. This is definitely new territory. But I just love the fact I'm back and I have the heart and the passion for dynamic discs, and I'm going to do what it takes to make this work. So I'm excited to get things going.
And you're the brand manager. Now, is that obviously with dynamic discs, they're part of House of Discs now.
Yes.
And we see that like Latitude has Jonathan doing a lot of their stuff. Are you going to be doing that type of work? Are you focused just on dynamic, or will you be a brand manager for House of Discs, and will you dip your toe into Latitude or West Side? Or because I know in the past we've always talked West Side was like kind of partially owned by different companies, by like Latitude and DD, and you kind of did a little bit of work there. Or are you strictly DD now?
So I'm strictly DD, and there's kind of a perception out there that, and I get why, I understand why, and just to be, again, I guess transparent, we kind of did it to ourselves in a sense, because when we were dynamic discs, and then of course Latitude came along and was making the molds, and then Westside came along, and then we became Trilogy. And I'll be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of Trilogy because I didn't want the brands to kind of mold together. But then it kind of took on a life of its own, and I was like, all right, let's do this. We're Trilogy. And so when all the mergers started happening, naturally people were like, oh, well, I remember when one of the brands came along and they were like, well, what are we going to be? Not Trilogy, we're going to be Quadology. What are we going to be next? And so as the merger started happening, or the whatever you want to call it, acquisitions or whatever you want to call it, people naturally thought, well, this is House of Disc. Well, House of Disc is not a brand. It's not a brand at all. It's just a name given to what's happening behind the scenes. So we are focused on brand identity and brand strategy. So I am Dynamic Discs. I've been Dynamic Discs through and through since day one. And that's what I'm bringing to the table is I want to bring back the community, the passion, and just the grassroots and I'm your best bud. And I just want you to join our journey. And that's all going to be through the lens of Dynamic Discs.
With that being said, does the community, the disc golf community, know some of the other brand managers? I don't know what Jonathan's official title is. I don't think he's brand manager, but does the community know any? And is that relevant or not when you're talking about some of those other brands?
Well, each of the brands are going to kind of have their own kind of identity out there, and so because Dynamic Disc is such the personable, the everyday man, the everyman, whatever, the every guy type brand, it makes sense for me to be on there and be kind of the face of it. As far as like Jonathan, what he brings, his personality, that's been working for Latitude 64. As far as the other ones, I'm not 100% sure how they're going to do their strategy, if they're just going to kind of lean more on the top player names that they have on their teams, or if they're going to have their own personality as a brand manager. Now, there is somebody kind of guiding it along for sure. And that's maybe maybe a confusion because we are so transparent at Dynamic Discs that people kind of think that is the way it is maybe for other disc golf brands in this House of Discs, but it's not the case. You have someone steering the brand and the brand identity and the strategy in the background, but you may never hear about them. But what you see is what they're executing on the brand identity.
Fair or not, and I obviously I think is a compliment. The top question I feel like that's come in since your even hint or the sniff of the idea of you coming back into the sport is everybody wondering, is Disc Golf Answer Man or some variation of it going to make a return? What do you say to that?
So I would say that, yes, that has been probably the most flattering comments, because that was one of my passion projects, was the Disc Golf Answer Man. I mean, I remember at the very beginning when I reached out to Eric McCabe and was like, we need to start a podcast. Because, back then there was maybe 2 or 3 podcasts in disc golf, and podcasting was such a big, big thing. And of course, just about any social media guru you talk to was like, you got to have a podcast. You got to have a podcast. So I told Eric, we need to make a podcast. And I said, we need to make something that, people are already talking about their local tournaments. People are talking about the big tournaments. I want something for the people. I want someone that is discovering disc golf, is trying to get better at disc golf, a connection to a pro that, that can help them with some advice. So I said, let's do a question and answer where people send in questions and we answer their questions. And the first episode, we maybe had 5 questions, and then things just started rolling from there, and people just loved it. And it felt like it was such a needed type of podcast where nobody else was really doing that. Some people were answering questions here and there, but it wasn't solely about answering people's questions. So that has been a passion project, and a really great, I call it a marketing arm for Dynamic Discs. Long answer to, yes, of course we're going to bring back this stuff.
Quit teasing me.
Well, now
we've got podcasts that are shorter than that answer. For God's sakes, I just needed to know. Is it back? It is. Is that exclusive news? Did we just break? Was that a SmashBox exclusive?
That was a SmashBox exclusive.
You haven't told anyone else.
No.
Right here, people.
So I don't even know.
A competitor to our podcast is back.
Hopefully they do it Tuesday night. Tuesday,
8, 7, 8, 9, all of those times. No, 7, 8, 9, all of those are open.
Yes, all those times.
So, my question, when SmashBox first started podcasting, you're right. There was like 2 or 3 podcasts out there. There was Disc Golf Answer Man. You guys predated us by like a month or 2 or something.
Yeah.
I think there was like the Zen of Disc Golf or something along those lines. I thought there was one other one.
Disc Golf Show, maybe.
Maybe
did they start yet?
I thought they were just here after us, but I don't know.
Way.
But I don't know for sure.
There was local route, Mr.
Local
Disc
route,
Golf, right? He had local route, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think that was one of them as well. So if they start again, do they get to claim then the longest running disc golf podcast? No, they have to reset.
No, you don't get to take a break for years and then come back.
Do they have to start back at episode 1, or can they spin back up at
I'll let them pick it back up if they were numbering them. We're at 556. We'll let them pick it back up.
I think we numbered them for a while. Then we said, I don't want to number them. Then we went back to numbering. I don't know where we're at.
Oh, fine. All right. We'll give you that. So looking at the brand, looking at DD, you've had some time to step away and kind of look at it from a whole different perspective. Like you get an outside view of Dynamic Discs.
Yeah.
You clearly came back for a reason, and spill the beans. Like, what are you looking at changing as the brand manager? Like what vision do you have for Dynamic Discs? Because for better or worse, we've said it on this podcast, they've taken some hits over the last few years. Yeah. And what are you going to do to kind of maybe, I don't want to say right the ship, but steer the ship?
Sure. So, and that's a great question. And that's something I've, when the first meeting I had with David Berglund, we were just kind of catching up because I'd worked with him when I was back in the day, not super close with him, but when I would travel to Sweden, I would have conversations with him and strategy conversations with him as far as social media. Because when I first started, I was doing Latitude and Dynamic Discs social media. And as we were talking, he kind of asked me kind of the same question about what have I seen about Dynamic Discs? What have I seen out there? And I said, I've been following along. I've been watching the videos. I've been reading the Reddit. I read the Reddit. So I've been following. And I told him, I said, David, it feels like the only analogy I can think of is if one of your kids just started going astray and just lost their way and lost their voice. And so I just went into, I said, David, if this is a reach out to me to see if I'm interested in coming back, I would entertain to see what the possibilities are, because if there's a chance for me to come back and reinvigorate what dynamic this was, and I have to at least look into it and see what it's all about. And what I've learned, like I said, today's day 2 of me coming back. Of course, there was a lot more different conversations, talking to different people to see what it would look like. But like, I think after the second meeting, I had probably an 8-page document of what I was going to do and how I wanted to see it play out. And I called it the brand playbook. And as I was researching, watching videos, listening to different podcasts and their predictions and speculations, then I even watched some old videos that I put together, some old videos of Jeremy talking about the company. And I thought, really, I'm not bringing anything new to the table. I'm just getting back to telling people our story, our journey, because it's still, people here still want to see disc golf grow. We still have quality products. We still have campaigns and things going on to help disc golf grow. The thing that was missing is nobody was able to, for whatever reason, was able to tell that story. That story never really stopped. Yes, there were some things going on in the background, mergers, acquisitions, all kinds of legal stuff that unfortunately became the narrative that was pushed out, and no one was able to kind of correct that narrative to where it isn't just a bunch of people somewhere else making decisions. It's just what happens when a company does that and gets together and does mergers. But there were still disc golfers and still people that have a passion for the sport that were making the day-to-day decisions. I was just there to tell that story. So that's what I'm here to do again, is not to create something brand new, not to even rebrand Dynamic Discs, but just to tell the story about what's happening and amplify what's still going on at Dynamic Discs. That's my mission and my goal. Now, we'll do it with we'll do it with Disc Golf Answer Man. We'll do it with some, videos that seem to be working, the "Is this disc right for you" type videos. I don't know if it'll be exactly that, but something similar, because I believe that really connected to people trying to figure out our discs, and then of course we're going to try some new stuff. I mean, it's not the same company I left 4 years ago. Disc golf is not the same sport that I left 4 years ago. It was evolving before I left, and now it's really evolved. And so right now I'm kind of in a research. I'm just soaking a lot of things in. And if you envision a fire hose in front of my face and it's just on full blast, and I'm just information. And then I got to figure out, how do I tell that story in the current state of disc golf, and do it in a fun way, because I like having fun.
Do you feel like there is, I'll say a huge amount of pressure on you? Or
yeah.
How has that been relayed or conveyed to you? Is that internal, or is that No, the pressure I'm putting on myself.
Okay. Because of, I had been building a life back in Tulsa with my grandkids and my family. I had met a girl, fell in love. We're engaged. We're supposed to get married. Well, we're going to get married in June. And so I was building a life there. So I had a serious talk with my fiance, and I told her, she knew the whole story, because I've talked about it all the time, every time something would happen in the disc golf news. But we had a serious talk, and I told her that I really I feel a need to go back and figure out what's going on and do a course correction on the narrative that's being put out there. So it really is pressure on myself. I'm not feeling pressure from anybody at Dynamic Discs or any of the leaderships. They're just like, we just want you to come back and do what you did. And that's fantastic. But the pressure is on me, because I know a lot of people are relying on this, on me coming back and get back to telling the story. Because it does feel like I get a sense that people feel a little beat up, and they see what people are saying on social media. They see the speculations, and I think it really hurts them. because they don't know their heart. They don't know that we're still doing the day-to-day. They're still making the day-to-day decisions. You know, a lot of people keep throwing the word greed out there, corporate greed, corporate. It's the day-to-day is not corporate greed. It's not corporate. They're just trying to make the right decisions to weather a lot of the storms that are happening for a lot of disc golf companies, this post-COVID or COVID bubble pop, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of things going on. And then they had this merger stuff happening. And so it just painted everything in a bad light. And I think a lot of people are just here at the headquarters are just like, we just need to get our story out that we're still passionate about disc golf. We still care about the community. And we don't have the venture capitalists breathing down our necks. We still want to be of the people, for the people. That sounded weird. That's probably sounded. I probably won't put that in a slogan. I think that's been used somewhere else.
Are you running for the president? Are you running for and mayor of Emporia all at once?
Yeah.
The board again, and probably rightfully so. You were kind of the front man of a team of a lot of people. Some of the criticism that has come is, come at, Danny Lindell leaving at some point, also seeing Anthony leave and him, putting out a video where he was, very, very, I'll say both blunt and honest with how he felt about things and becoming, we'll say, subject to some of that compression and whatnot of the industry and of the company and whatever. Is there a desire, or have you had talks with anyone else? And are there other, like, I'll say, reunion vibes out there at all, or has some of that ship sailed?
I mean, it's really too early in everything to know any of that or what's even possible. I'm still learning about the state we're at right now with everything. They filled me in on a little bit of stuff, and then I'm just learning more and more. I did ask, at one point I asked him, I said, are you okay? Are you willing to take some risks and to really go all out? And they were like, yes, they're ready to do that. But it's a business. So you have to do it within the confines of the business. And their goal is never to lay people off. Their goal is to make the business survive. And so I haven't got into that yet. I haven't delve deep into that. When I watched the video, it broke my heart, but I wasn't here at that time. I don't know the decisions that were being made, why the decisions were being made. So I can't really speak on that, but, so I don't know. I don't know what the future holds as far as how we had it before, as far as a media department. Not as of now. I have a vision, I have plans, but as of now, I have to understand where they're at right now. I can't take people all the way to where I want it to be. I got to know where they're at right here and meet them there, and then work toward what I think would help us be successful.
So what does the media department look like right now? Because from what I have seen, I have not seen a lot of dynamic disc media. Not like we used to, of course.
Yeah.
So what does your media department look like right now?
So right now we have, what's really great is we have a lot of the people that were there. We have, Temp there, Jackie, who's doing events. Eric McCabe is still there. Then we have some, graphics people that are still there. And so these, as far as who's going to create content, right now it's going to be me. It'll obviously be me and Eric McCabe as well, the Disc Golf Answer Man, some, throwing videos. I mean, I've got, I don't know how many, I haven't even looked yet, but I know I don't know how many molds I have to try out to see how they fly. So it is going to be me. And then, of course, reaching out to some players and trying to figure out, who can I connect with to start, promoting them as players and things like that. But right now, as far as content creation, it is just me, but there is a team, a brand team, that their job. Now, I will tell you, it's not as though they didn't want to. It's just that they had other things on their plate. So, having someone dedicated to where my job daily is to be, what should we post on social media? Rather than what design do I need to do? What course do I need to design? What customer do I need to reach out to? And also create social media, where my job is completely, how do I get the word out on what we're doing, and how do I use social media to do that?
I've got a little inside tip. Take it for what you will.
Wait, do I
Dynamic
need to get my
has
notepad? Or?
yeah. Well,
Okay.
Dynamic has done from what I've seen. I've only been there one time. Dynamic has done a really good job in integrating themselves into Mexico.
Yes.
And I'll go there. I'll go there next week for you, actually, and
Okay.
I will continue to investigate and report back on whatever you need. I'll be one of your traveling, eyes in the sky, so to speak.
Aren't you going to the Selinsky next week?
Well, I'm going to New Mexico tomorrow, but then I'll come home for a few days. Then I'm going to go to Mexico.
Doing the
Old
full
Mexico? Do we call it Old Mexico?
Doing the full Mexico round.
Yes, I'm doing the Mexico rounds. But
Okay.
so I will be there, and maybe we could talk about some of the the things you need captured while I'm already
Okay.
there. So I
Well, you did a fantastic job for Glassbone Open, that's for sure. I loved watching the videos you did for GBO.
Well, thank you. I've got some stuff. I think you could still certainly post and use. But in all seriousness, I'm dead serious when I say what has been done to initially work with a lot of the players and a lot of the movers and shakers in Mexico. It was very impressive. I genuinely was only there once. It was last year. Paul Macbeth Foundation obviously helping getting a lot of things kicked off, and then some of the I don't want to say fallout in a bad way, some of the residual or some of the growth and whatnot that's come of it, and seeing that Dynamic Disc is a very strong brand down in Mexico was really cool to see last year while we were down there. Doug Bjerkes, who is with the PDGA now, but at that time was with Dynamic, and so he's seeing kind of the fruits of that outreach that came from Dynamic and doing a lot of projects and whatnot. So I'm excited to go back there. I'm doing New Mexico this weekend and then Mexico next week, and I'll be excited to see what's going on as they continue to develop down there. So
We definitely need to connect offline and figure that out, because that's kind of what I'm learning is like, what are the current campaigns that they're concentrating on? How can I contribute and help that? And then what do we do, moving forward? So that's definitely one that we should be looking into for sure.
I think a question, you and I had a conversation, and I'll admit I've had this conversation with a number of content creators and brand people at various manufacturers throughout the years, is the role of sponsored players and where they're integrated, where they're not. How important are top performing or top entertaining players? And I think that's I'm going to be excited and interested to see the path in which you, or maybe take multiple paths, in which you go down to explore all those options, because we all know sometimes there's players that just win and maybe don't post a lot, or they perform very well, they don't post a lot, and then there's other players who might not be on the podium often but definitely have a large social media presence, and then everything in between. And I guess I'm interested to see or hear what your thoughts are on, where are you utilizing those tools, those people being tools? How are you going to do that?
I mean, I would think my initial reaction or my thoughts is, as in anything, you play to people's strengths, right? So if someone's, a top finisher, then that's what we're going to highlight. That's what we're going to talk about. Maybe they're not quite the greatest on social media. Do they need a little bit of coaching? I mean, we all know social media is just so super important no matter where you're at. Now, obviously it helps when you're a top finisher, because you get what's called earned media, right? You get that earned media where you've got DGPT pushing you out there. They're coming on your show to be to talk to about their winnings. And so, they get media through that. But if you're not getting that, then you got to do the other game, which is creating content, being a personality. The message I've always shared with people is, you are a personality, you are a brand, whether you like it or not. If you're someone that doesn't post a lot, that's your brand. Someone that doesn't want, I'm not saying you have to, but it is what it is. That is your personality, or that is your reputation, is what is put online. If you're the kind of person you're like, well, I'm a private person, I don't want to tell people what I'm eating for dinner, I don't want them to know what I'm doing tonight, that's fine. But that is your brand. Your brand is someone who doesn't share a lot. But if you are someone that, like some of the top guys, Simon and all these guys, that they get out there and they entertain and they do great, that's their brand. But you've got to own it and know it, that if you're not going to share, then no one's going to hear about you and know about you unless you're winning. Winning is always seems to be the answer to it all. But I think we've proven that even if, yes, we all want to be winners, we all want to be on the top podium, but that's not the only way to make your way in this sport or any area. I mean, you could go across any sport or any kind of recreation or something like that, and you will find people that if they are active on social media and making a name for themselves, then they are successful in that way.
Yeah, you certainly don't have to be the best at anything to still be able to carry some weight and be impactful in whatever that might be. There's no doubt about it. Just to back up for a second, you said earlier how when you had left, you did a few different things, and then you ended up working at Scheels. For those that don't know, Scheels is a department store or a
Sporting goods store.
Sporting goods store. Wow. Yeah, there we go. Right.
We like to say all sports.
Okay, all sports. So
wait, I'm not we anymore. They. Anyway,
Sure.
whatever it is.
I still sometimes say we with the DGPT, and I'm like, no, I don't really work with them anymore.
But you didn't go to the Scheels at the local mall and start working. You were working at a headquarters, weren't you? Or
no,
some kind of a corporate office? No.
No, they I remember driving by and seeing they were actually building it, and they had the construction signs, and it said coming soon Scheels, and I had no idea what Scheels was. But then when I started doing the job hunting, it came up that they wanted a social media person, so I thought, well, that's the place I saw they were building onto a local mall.
Okay.
So I applied. And I applied for it and went through 4 interviews. They are very thorough, which is great because they want to make sure you are a culture fit, and so it takes about 4 interviews, and I got the job. I did train a little bit in the home office in Fargo, North Dakota, but no, I didn't ever work there. It was all Tulsa Scheels.
Okay.
What I loved about it was, like I said at the beginning, I thought it was just going to be a cookie cutter. I thought they were going to have me take a few pictures, make a few videos, and tell me when to post and stuff like that. But each individual Scheels has their own Instagram and Facebook. So we had Tulsa Scheels. Texas has the Colony Scheels, Meridian Scheels. And so you're able to have your own personality, and you're able to kind of understand your market locally, and then how to, advertise to them or how to connect with them, which was fantastic because it allowed me to be myself and be on camera and have fun with it.
Knowing all of that, and I thank you for the clarification. For some reason, I thought you were at a largely at a corporate office setting, but knowing all of that, what would you say you took away from that experience? And just for everyone else, a Scheels is similar to what you'd find at like a Dick's Sporting Goods,
right,
or something of that nature, except for I think you told me there's like 38 of them in the country as opposed to hundreds of, we'll say,
right.
Dick's
There's
sports academies. But
they're working on the 35th one right now.
Yeah, so it's of that kind of nature, just for everyone that's still not familiar with what Scheels is. Imagine, like a Dick's Sporting Goods, a little bit smaller, and like you said, 35 of them. There happens to be one where Johnny and I grew up, so that's why we're very familiar with them.
Appleton Scheels. It's been there for like 30 years.
Yeah, and they employ my handicapped sister, which is she's been there for 20 years, which is awesome. So anyway, what did you learn though? Knowing a disc golf background, knowing they sell discs, what were some of the biggest takeaways from being at that store and trying to promote an entire sporting goods store?
It was definitely a big undertaking because the way they look at it is that instead of like departments or sections, they call them shops. So you had a bike shop, you had a fashion shop, you had the shoe shop, and they had shop managers, and those individuals actually ran. And some people said we were kind of like a mall, which we were. We had 75 different specialty shops, and each shop had their own shop managers, and each of those shops wanted me to promote their products. And so I almost looked at it as though we had my marketing department, we had 75 clients. And how do we promote those 75 clients? Now, the challenge was we only had one channel, Instagram or Facebook, one Instagram. And so, we have the hunting shop. So it's like we would show some hunting gear. And then 2 days later, we would show the brand new jeans we just got in. So it was kind of a balance because the mom that wants to know the jeans we have doesn't care about the hunting gear that we have, but the hunter doesn't really care about the new barrel jeans that we just got in that are the latest craze. They don't really care. So that was kind of the uniqueness of it, but it was very challenging and fun. So I learned how to figure out how to be a little more generic in that I just built a connection with people and made it to where you liked Shields, you liked me, and you were like, this is really cool. I like what they're doing, because we would do things in the community. We would do food reviews of places nearby to kind of uplift Tulsa, say, you need to try this food place. And people they would comment and say, I love that you're doing this because it feels like you really are ingrained in the community. So my objective was to just get them into the store and then let the salespeople take it from there. They take it from there. I bring them into the store because they're excited to be part of Shields. Now you start showing them products. So it was a challenge. And so that's something I learned there. The other thing, one thing that I learned that I'm going to bring with me here to Dynamic Discs is something that made me say I was going to go all in at Shields at the time was they are very people driven first. And my store leader, they don't call them store managers, they call them store leaders, was very good at creating an awesome culture. The culture was people were proud to work at Shields. They would work the extra hours. They would show up, put in the extra work because they felt like they were part of something awesome, which they were. And so we would have regular leadership meetings, regular culture meetings. And that to me is vital to what I'm bringing back here, is that there's going to be a lot of things that's going to happen internally in the background that you're not going to know about. You're not going to see, except you're going to see the fruits of that when you start seeing us on video and seeing people having a great time. So that's the biggest thing I took from there, is that they are people driven and then product, because if you take care of the people, the product will take care of itself.
Yeah. And I think just the overall landscape of disc golf, as we were just saying, is changed so much, and there's some old challenges, but there's certainly new challenges for you. And that just doesn't apply to you and DD. That applies across the board. Everyone has been feeling somewhat of a squeeze, how they've reacted and exactly what's happening. We also saw a major cutback in overall sponsorships this last season from a number of manufacturers, and even touring players, coming off of the tour because it's just not financially feasible. Were any of your concerns, did you have any concerns knowing we're still growing as a sport, but we're not growing like we were 2 years ago or 3 years ago? Does that concern you at all?
Yeah. I knew, talking to a buddy of mine, that he gave me a lot of great feedback. And I had to come to the conclusion that, one, I was not coming back to the same company. I was, but I wasn't. Right? Ask yourself, what am I the same person I was 4 or 5 years ago? I bet you there's a lot of differences going on in your life. So I knew I wasn't coming back to the same company. I knew I wasn't coming back to the same sport. It had, evolved. It has a lot of, we call them COVID players that kind of came and went. So I knew I wasn't going to. So yeah, it made me a little like, because I'm not naive. When I started doing the social media thing, there wasn't hardly any social media, and disc golf was really on a nice climb, and it was getting more media put out there, more YouTube videos, more Instagram, more this. And so I kind of rode that wave. And then I had, the great people. There's still great people there, don't get me wrong. But there was a secret sauce there where it was like, I know that the people that were there helped me along the way. It helped it along the way. And so so yeah, I was a little concerned about, am I coming back to an industry that's on the way out or just will never recover? But again, like I said, I did some research. I looked at some trends. I watched a lot of videos from other manufacturers to kind of get a feel, the vibe for what's going on. And it felt like this was a perfect timing to get back in and be part of, even though there's still some challenges going on, but be part of that kind of refocusing, realigning, and help it come back. It'll never come back to the pandemic time, but if we could get back to where we were before the pandemic, I'd be happy.
Yeah, which is, I feel like, where we are. We saw such a spike, and even in talking to some PDGA people, I think we're at a point where we're continuing to give that annual growth. It's just clearly not as spiked as it was during COVID, but disc golf continues to grow naturally, as it did for so many years. We were anywhere from 10 to 12 to 15% annually. And then during COVID, it was a 300 or 400%. And now maybe we're back to that 10, 12, 15%, whatever it is. And it feels like a letdown to so many because we had such a high peak.
Yeah, it feels like a letdown, but you go to a lot of big businesses that have been around for a while and they're happy with, single digit growth. Right. And so, so it's like, you got to be, I still feel like we're having still a little bit of, and for the lack of a better term, pandemic hangover. I still feel like there's some things happening affecting disc golf that is from the pandemic time. But I think we're on an upward trend for sure.
Can you think of, not to put you too much on the spot, but can you think of either an ad, a campaign, a post, anything that has really tickled your fancy, that when you were doing some of this research, you're like, dang, I really liked that. And I would come from maybe even closest competitor, but is there anything that jumped out at you as like, man, I wish I would have thought of that 5 years ago when I was a few years ago or something? Is there anything that was...
I can't think of anything specific. I mean, I
Nothing
did
that
like
blew your hair off?
that Clash Disc, some of the ads they were putting out were very clever.
Yeah.
I thought those were clever. I would say mostly the content creators, the style is much different than what I had. A lot more fast pace, a lot of editing going into it. Though what's nice is there's the different styles that are out there. There's the slow talking, the Sam Sulek. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sam Sulek as far as his style of vlogging. He literally is it's 25 minutes of him talking to the camera while he's working out.
He's the he's the fitness guy that is like crazy.
Oh yeah, he's huge.
It's just ginormous.
I missed a series. Shoot.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell.
Yeah. And so in the whole Mr. Beastification of video, he was a disruptive because he just came on there and he had his microphone in his hat, his little DJI microphone over in his hat. And he would be driving to the gym talking about what he just ate and what he's going to work out today. I'm going to do lats and blah, blah, blah. He'd get there and he'd do a couple, and he'd be talking, what you really need to do is you need to make sure. And it's just very like not much editing, just talking. And so my point is that I did notice different styles and different content creators that I was like, oh my God, am I going to be able to keep up with them? Because their styles were awesome. But I know that I'm okay to be in my lane and what I put out there because I know that there's an audience for it for sure. I can't think of any specific campaign or something that really stood out to me that I thought was really cool. I noticed that there's a lot of reaction type videos. I noticed there's a lot of, I'm not sure I get why it's there, but kind of the National Enquirer. I don't know if people, that type of gossipy type of channels. But I feel like that's just natural because, in any other niche you think about, there are gossipy type of YouTube channels that do well.
Well, drama sells, right? And
drama sells.
Being outraged, always, looking to point out flaws and or dish out criticism, I think is very easy. It's a very easy thing to do. Just generally speaking,
it's easy to criticize. It's not necessarily easy to give answers, to give solutions.
Yeah. And Yeah, I think that it just overall, and obviously that's in every industry. There's a lot of armchair quarterbacks, so to speak, that always seem to have all the can point out and find all the problems, whereas some of the answers are not quite as obvious, and or arriving at.
Though I find myself watching those.
Sure.
So I guess it worked.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think specifically, and this is bias is aside. I think about some of the production value in something like for instance, the Matty O video when Matty O was masked, and then there was kind of the chanting for 4 more years of Matty O and his contract, kind of his contract release. Like I think of, we'll say, high production value of that nature, and really an elaborate scene. And then I think of there's some commercials that had a lot less direction, we'll say, but went out and shot it, got it done in one afternoon, maybe didn't even have a script when they did it, but might be just as impactful. And I think we're always going to have, everything in between. And it's kind of funny how they continue to evolve. And like you said, everyone's got your own voice and your own style. So,
and you never know. I mean, I don't know how many times. I don't know how many times I've worked on a video for hours and hours and it doesn't perform like I thought it would. And then I will post a story and it's just me grabbing my phone and it, goes crazy. So,
yeah. Ed Root and a couple others are out there and have talked about it. Obviously, you guys have Eric McCabe in the house, in the building, so to speak. Well, literally in the building over there at Dynamic, and has been such a crucial world champion designer and has done a ton of different things. He's part of the college disc golf. I know he shares some of his time being the coach over there at Emporia State. Where do you feel like you guys are on the college disc golf scene, and how is it a focus for you and the company?
I wish I had an answer for you, but again, I just finished day 2, and so I'm still,
Come on. Why don't you know everything already? So much for being the answer man.
I know, right?
I got questions and you don't got answers.
I mean, I've touched on a few projects that got going on, and I have been just there have been a lot of meetings to kind of catch me up on things. And I have just kind of sat down with a few people just to get their perspective and some context. And so it's been a lot of that and not a lot of the meat and potatoes quite yet. A little bit, like I have a few things that okay, we need to have this done by a certain date. As far as promoting the Trilogy Challenge and getting ready for Junior Worlds, it's coming to Emporia. But as far as something like that has not been brought up, not because it's not important, but it's only because we just haven't had time yet to talk about everything that we're involved with.
Yeah, and to me, immediately, just even as you were talking about that, I think of the Junior Worlds that's there in July. The Trilogy Challenge, which has been wildly successful for many years, even though you kind of told the story about Trilogy and whatnot, but it's been obviously still very successful for many years.
Right, yes.
What you guys have done with veterans in the past in working with them. Then now I think about the expansion and seeing more courses in more countries. I mentioned Mexico. Obviously, you guys have your sights on other countries and other expansion. Course design is a component of Dynamic Disc. That's largely Eric McKay, but that's another avenue. The Dymax process that happens and has been probably promoted better than any other full color processing that's been done in disc golf. Every company has a version of it, but you guys, I feel like, doubled and tripled down on the Dymax and very much made that a core thing that you could do and was something that you stood apart. And then your entire media arm. I mean, there are so many different things that are going on there that you should just have answers for all of them today. And, so.
I mean, yes, eventually we're going to touch base on everything.
Yeah.
We'll figure out how to make sure that we get the word out of everything, but I'm trying to learn where they're at. I think the biggest thing is that they just haven't been able to pump out content like they should be. Not for the lack of trying, but it just wasn't. Someone wasn't able to be there to focus on it for a little bit, for a little while. Yeah.
One more.
Okay, go.
Then you can.
Okay, fine.
whether it was in an early meeting with Dave and Seth and the crew or not, or maybe a later meeting once you were more locked into being there, in your back pocket or on your little sketch pad, do you have 1 or 2 or 10 just wildly explosive thoughts, ideas, campaigns, ideas, initiatives? Is there anything? I know you're trying to like gather everything and then start there, but have other things, jumped out as like, hey, we really need to try this. This is also on my radar at some point.
It's like we just really need to get out there and start doing what we did before, which was the challenge videos, us throwing the discs on video, talking about the discs, disc golf adventures. I'm going to go to Portland for the Northwest Championship and share that journey with people. There really hasn't been any. I mean, I've got different ideas as far as like, do we do reaction videos? Do we do day in the life's kind of played out, those type of videos, or just super. I don't have anything specific right now in my head as far as, this is the new thing. This is the thing we're going to grab a hold of. But I can tell you that there will be, as ideas come in, I really have this mindset now of like, let's try it for 30 days and see how people react. And if it's great, we're going to go with it. If it's not, we're not going to continue it. And that might be a little frustrating for some people, but right now it's like, that's what you got to do. You got to see what people connect with and kind of run with it. I don't have any specifics that I want to share right now, but I definitely want people to, get on board the YouTube channel and it's going to take a little bit, but we're going to get back on track with some of these projects. I want to learn the players. I want to learn the people that are at the warehouse, and then how can I help tell the story better using those people, using the characters.
Is it a coincidence that this year DD brings back GBO and they bring back Bobby Brown? And are we seeing a step? I hate to call it a step back because that's not the right term, but a reflection, an acknowledgement of maybe some of the changes we made weren't the right changes that DD is making now. Like, hey, look, this worked for us 5 years ago. Maybe it'll work for us now. Like GBO and Bobby and these things. Are we seeing that, or is this something different?
I think it is based on the conversations I've had so far. They knew that things had lost their focus. Their voice had been lost. They've known it. So it's not like they've been, blind to it. And they've tried different ways of getting it back. And I don't know the exact conversations of why, my name came up and, why, when they finally decided to reach out. But I think it is kind of like, for the lack of a better term, yeah, it's like, well, it worked before. Let's bring that back. I don't know if that's they tried this, they're correcting their ways, but rather recognizing that was a component of dynamic discs, how people connected to dynamic discs. We've lost that connection. Let's try to bring that connection back. Oh yeah, Bobby was part of that connection. I mean, it could have been a gamble for them. I mean, at one point they asked me, "Are you okay to be in front of camera? Are you done with being on camera?" So they were probably thinking, if they brought me back, what would I do? Would I just be a bump on the log and not do anything on video? So I'm sure it was kind of a risk for them, but it was kind of like, yeah, let's try. It seemed to work before. Let's try it again.
Okay. Yeah.
I was just thinking, with the resurgence, with inflation, does the price of your fan club membership go up?
I have no idea.
Well, I should ask the president. Johnny, does the price of his...
Yes, Terry, for you it does. It's going to be...
I bought the lifetime membership, damn it.
Yeah, that goes along with the Disc Golf Planet one.
Oh,
Oh,
Got me.
no.
Burned.
Deep cut.
Bring that up.
Oh man. Will we see you at some point then, something like making commercials for whether it's to be involved in a post-production video or something that you guys are supporting, or even on the pro tour or anywhere in between? Things like making commercials would be right up your alley as well, I assume.
Oh yeah, I would say eventually, you're going to start seeing more media coming out from Dynamic Discs, whether that's on social media or a commercial. I haven't been slated to, hey, we need a commercial for the next, pro tour. I know that I'm going out to Portland because Dynamic Discs is sponsoring a course and Latitude 64 is sponsoring a course, so that we're able to get out there and actually produce, content with our players out there. So I know that's going to happen, but nothing specific as far as a commercial, but I know that those are important and those are valuable. So I would imagine that will become part of the strategy as well.
Awesome. What is, as we wrap up, I'm thinking about what is the first thing we should expect to see in terms of output? Like I'm going to hold your feet to the fire here. Like when are you posting? What are we going to see?
I mean, we posted the video of me and Eric showing off the tour series. And that was, what was interesting is that we were brainstorming with the brand team of like, it was like, well, we need to talk about these tour series. Let's do something with the hoverboard, and then let's have you sneak around the corner and kind of tease. And so me and Eric were talking about it, and they're like, all right, let's 4:00. We're going to go film it. So we went out there at 4:00, and the nostalgia that came up, we've done this before hundreds of times. We're back at it again. The energy that was there was like, you could feel it. It was cool. It was like, it was awesome. So I guess to answer your question, I don't know what we're going to do next, but we're going to do more of that type stuff. Okay. I mean, the obvious thing is going to be Disc Golf Answer Man. And I know it's like, oh my God, they just brought Bobby back and he doesn't even know what he's going to do. Yes, I have different ideas of what we're going to do, but I got to see how it fits, like the Disc Golf Answer Man, where, we're down to, do we want to record it in the same place, or do we want to go to a new place to record it? We're trying to figure that out. Is this disc right for you? Is it just me and Eric? Is it me and Eric and somebody else? We're figuring that out. I would say the top priorities is going to be, as far as content, is Disc Golf Answer Man, some sort of version of is this disc right for you? And then just actually doing the behind the scenes stuff in stories. Just like tonight, we had a staff round out at New Life Christian Church. We had some fish that Keith fried up for us. It was delicious. And then we just kind of hung out and played a 9-hole of disc golf and had a great time. And I was on the social media sharing that. That's what we're bringing back, is that more of that opening the window to what's going on behind the scenes. So I would say the first thing you'll probably see is a Disc Golf Answer Man episode, because I think that's going to be a great way to show that we're back to what we wanted to do, which was connect with people and help people with their disc golf game.
I'm going to have to resub to that that podcast now. I think I deleted that out of my feed like 4 years ago.
Well, you better bring it back.
I'm going to bring it back. I would love to see, and maybe it's past its prime now, but I always loved the Disc Golf is Life commercials. Those were always fun.
Someone said that too.
Like those, I think those,
we might have to, we might have to try one, see how they do.
Yeah, those were always fun. I thought those were funny and they worked very well.
I used to take the podcast and then burn those onto a CD and then listen to them that way. So I'm just have to get my CD player back out.
Yeah, you're probably going to have to do that.
Ready to go. The question was, you and Eric, is that the assumed combo? Might that include other people, guests, things of that nature? Like, again, I know these are kind of getting really specific questions, but that's what you see, you and Eric, to get things started again.
I would say me and Eric to get things started, and then, somewhere down the road, have some players on there to talk to and to help with the questions, and then see what happens from there. I'm very much let's just start and figure it out from there. I mean, that's how they all started. It was like, let's just start something and then figure it out from there.
Yeah. Every channel in disc golf for instance, started that way, whether that was
Yeah.
myself or Jomez or you. All of a sudden you're there, you're hitting record, and you just got to get things started one way or another. All right, Bobby, anything you want to share with us that we didn't ask about? Maybe some, rock we left unturned, stone unturned? What's the saying?
Yeah, any stone unturned.
Sure. But seriously, any other thought, initiative, idea, anything else you want to share?
No, just thank you for having me on. Thank you to the fans and the followers and all the positive comments. It warms my heart and it's awesome. It motivates me to do even more. The vision and the mission that I have is to, set the tone for 2025 and beyond. That, we lost our voice, but it's just been there the whole time. There have been some challenges. There's been some struggles. There's no doubt. We're not going to. We've always celebrated our wins, and I'm not going to. I'm not going to put our losses under the rug and try to hide from them. There were some missteps for sure, but I can't change the past. I can't. Me coming on is not going to change what happened in the past. I can only move forward, and so I want people to know that we're still the same dynamic discs you remembered. We're just going to take some time to get it out there and show people that we still are the be dynamic, be extraordinary, and be passionate people.
I love it. Well, of course, you've got a couple of really big fans here. It was great to connect with you slightly or just before GBO, then talk to you a little bit at GBO and whatnot. And very exciting news for the disc golf community. We know that Dynamic is making a solid move to have you get back into the fold, and we're excited to see what comes of it. So we wish you the best of luck, and as you know, you're always
congratulations
welcome
on your upcoming nuptials too.
Yes,
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I appreciate that.
When is that?
So
when Terry and I are going to crash?
It'll be the middle of June.
We'll need more information later. Okay. Anyway, somewhere in Tulsa, probably. We'll forget.
All righty, buddy. Well,
Tulsa.
again, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations, not just to you, but to the entire Dynamic Disc family and everyone. We're all going to benefit from your creativity and your hard work and your hustle out there, and we're looking forward to seeing it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I've always appreciated you guys. Even when I was gone, I would still watch your shows. And, if I had trouble falling asleep, I'd put you on.
All right, cut him loose. Cut him loose for a second, this guy.
You got to bring that back, right?
You don't got no answers. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Good night, Bobby.
Enough of that guy.
God,
who invited him anyway?
Give him a few minutes and he just gets all cocky. God.
Yeah. I got an answer for you right here, pal.
Little does he know, I bought the domain. Disc Golf Answer Man. No.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool Daddy
cool
Slick
Grandpa Slick Breeze.
Yeah. Super thankful to have him join us. Of course, really exciting news. I had to keep that secret. Nothing for nothing. I had learned this back at the GBO, and of course, when he was kind of milling around, and he could have been there just visiting. That would have been appropriate and totally understandable. But it was at that time I had learned of the juicy secret.
He was not great at keeping that secret.
Well, then he dropped a few hints. Coming after.
He'd been
that,
hinting for like a week or two at least. It's like, oh, what do you find interesting in disc golf right now? What do you think about this? And all I kept thinking is like, Bobby's coming back to disc golf. And I didn't know it was with DD, but the way he had been dropping clues, I thought like, wow, he's coming back? And maybe it was to DD, maybe it was to another manufacturer, maybe it was to a brand like Infinite or something like that. Mm-hmm. And that's all I kept thinking. Or the Pro Tour even. Like a lot of things crossed my mind, but deep in my heart, I knew he was coming back when he started dropping these little hints here and there. So I'm glad. I'm glad to see what that DD is looking at doing and making changes. Like they understand, they're not oblivious to some of the public perception. And Bobby was a huge part of them becoming what they did. I mean, you and I saw it. everybody saw it. I mean, Bobby was one of the first people. You know, it was like Legacy and Bobby that really trusted Smashbox to do something. I mean, we were some of the first live broadcasts out at DD.
Yeah,
you know, at the GBO and stuff, and so we hold a deep special spot for Bobby in our heart and DD. But ultimately, I like that DD is I don't even want to say going out on a limb, because Bobby's kind of a known product.
Yeah.
So, but I like that they're looking reflectively at themselves and looking to make changes.
Well, we wish everyone the best of luck. You know, you're going to continue to see them run big events. You're going to continue to see them do a lot of other things that are outside of what a lot of people, if you're newer, you largely associate them with maybe a couple of players and the Dynamic Disc Open. And clearly there's a lot more history that's behind all of the entire Dynamic Disc branding. And I think they're going to get back to some of those roots, and it should be exciting to watch. So we wish him and the brand and everyone else the best of luck out there. All right, real quick, let's discuss a couple of other things before we get into the after show. I don't want it to entirely fly under the radar, maybe because some thought it was a foregone conclusion, but when it was all said and done, Team USA wins the President's Cup over Team Europe. I
told you how this was going to be.
In thinking, like, no, obviously this could be when it's an upset, it won't be an upset.
No, it's still going to be an upset.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I think with so many Europeans that are so talented, either way.
When the first time it happens, regardless of what happens, it's going to be an upset. Like, it's just it is. We've won so many times that there's just the amount of US MPO players dwarfs.
But the depth.
I understand that they have.
Europe continues to deepen.
Depth continues to deepen. That's some deep thoughts, Terry Miller.
What can I say? I got away with words.
I mean, look at Champions Cup. Look at the top 10.
So now you're getting all okay.
All factual that I didn't see a name there in MPO. In FPO, there's no doubt that there is the depth and the talent. I mean, the FPO in general, on a scale, you take the top 3 FPO from the US and the top 3 FPO from Europe, and Europe wins. That's how it is right now.
Well, when they change the rules to 9 European women or 9 women,
I think we're going to see. Honestly, I think we're going to see an update to that next year.
We may see it. One or 2 more women added.
I hope one. I don't necessarily think we need to have even scores or even divisions.
Sexist, I got it.
But I do think that it would be okay to go 4-3 or even 5-3 MPO FPO. I mean, if they wanted to make it even, I don't care. I'm not the one running it.
Yeah, 5-3 would not be.
I'll report on it no matter what happens. Yeah. But it would not shock me to see, just because we have seen the growth of the sport and the depth of the fields, as you're saying, get deeper. We're seeing the depth get deeper, Terry.
Yeah, Adele is just rolling in the deep right now.
Jeez. So to see them expand this wouldn't shock me at all. And then I think, if you have more FPO, it's going to take less MPO to go against that. And that was a lot of babbling. Ultimately, those words didn't really make a lot of sense coming out of my mouth. But,
I follow.
But anyway,
it was deep.
It was totally deep. We've been going
anyway. President's Cup goes to Team USA. Congrats,
Yay!
Avery Jenkins,
USA.
Avery Jenkins, and the rest of the crew. Avery, of course, being the captain. Incredible honor. It's just very cool to see out there. And all I can say is, I already feel a little bad for whoever the first captain will be. That will potentially get defeated. Well, it would be the player's fault, not the captain's. But nonetheless, the captain,
unless you're Kristen and you're dueling it up. I mean, would it next year when we see the captain for USA could be someone like a Missy? I know I threw out a JK. I thought she would be ideal, do they go with dual player / captain, and then maybe you go with a Missy or a Paige Pierce? I don't know the answer.
Yeah, Holland. Yep. Who knows?
No, not Holland.
Okay.
She hasn't earned captainship. She's a phenomenal player, but she should not be captain.
Because you're looking for more longevity.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
I think just the experience. In fact, it's almost. I said Missy. Missy is almost hasn't been I mean, Kristen hasn't been around long enough. If you want to talk about it that way, honestly, Missy just feels maybe. Sorry, Missy. Maybe it's her age. She feels more established. She feels more. She has been around longer than Holland. I just don't think Holland is a right for the position right now. Give her 5-7 years, sure. Missy would fit more. Paige probably fits the best, but I would rather see JK get that.
Okay.
Or Val, but I don't know if Val would be interested. Jenkins.
Mm-hmm. Not Mandahano.
Not Mandahano. No, Val Jenkins.
enough.
But
Val
again,
Jenkins
I don't know if Val Jenkins
would be a
even,
great fit.
would
Yeah.
even be interested in something like that. It could be kind of cool, though.
Yeah. All right, so that happened. And then, as I've alluded to a couple of times, real quick, the Tim Selinsky U.S. Masters taking place this weekend. It's going to be taking place Thursday through Sunday. I'm excited to say I'm going to be in New Mexico, where I've spent no, what's the word I'm looking for? Significant amount or meaningful amount of time in New Mexico. I don't even know if I've been in an airport, honestly, at any
why
point.
you would.
Yeah, I've never been there for any disc golf coverage or play. It got close once or twice. I know there's obviously some phenomenal courses there and some phenomenal events that have happened, but I have never been there. So myself and fellow local disc golfer Dustin will be traveling there tomorrow. And we'll be covering the FP40 division throughout the entire weekend. I believe, I don't know if they've announced the feature cards, but I believe there are some in both FP40 and MP40. Ace Run, our friends over there, will be doing the MP40 coverage for the weekend, as my channel will be offering the FP40 coverage for the weekend. And without a doubt, one of the number one concern, or chatter thus far, is playing at elevation, which we all know affects yourself personally in terms of being dizziness, control, breathing, shortness of breath. All of those things come into play, and then there's the other obvious component of throwing at elevation and how that affects the player. So that's going to be very much a conversation piece throughout the weekend. It's a fair one, considering so many of our players are not used to playing at elevation. There obviously are a few, but not that many of them that I feel like are regular names and top contenders. You think of a Nate Sexton making his debut here. Nate not necessarily used to playing at elevation. And
Is Joe Revere playing?
Joe Revere is not scheduled to play.
This event being at elevation seems
at
like
elevation just for the best MP40 player in the world. Yeah,
hand him the trophy. Thankfully for everybody else, he's not playing.
Yes. So nonetheless, it will be really cool. Ruidoso, I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sure I'll learn it by the end of the weekend. New Mexico is where we'll be. All I know about that is that we're flying into Albuquerque, and I think driving about 2.5 to 3 hours southeast, if I recall, if I looked at a map.
Aaron on the board says it's a very nice place.
Okay, and Aaron, I think I saw you say you might pop out there at some point. It'd be great to see you if that's the case. But I will say the website, noodlearmnation.com, who are your hosts for the event, just phenomenal. That anytime I've wanted to go looking for information, it's been out there.
Good.
I absolutely love it. They've had some caddy books out there. They have approximate tee times. They've got course fly-throughs already published that came from locals that weren't done by an Ace Run or myself. So those have already been published. Lost and found. Lots of other details. Obviously, host hotels, things of that nature, and then a bunch of their other events. And I got to zoom in for a little bit if I can. I think we're going to see a Fly Mart happening. I really got to zoom. It's probably in the caddy book, which I didn't download yet. Yeah, the player check-in meeting and banquet is tomorrow night. Then there's a putting league that takes place. There's also then a player party and fly mart that'll take place, I think on multiple days. And yeah, it should just be a lot of fun. And I'm really looking forward to being out there. I think there's over 400 already signed up for it. I'm guessing that registration and such is closed. But yeah, it's going to be a really good time. So look forward, if you would. Look for that coverage coming out this weekend. It should be next day for both Ace Run and for myself, and those will be on our own respective channels, which is a little bit of a shift at a lot of our majors for the last few years, our non-MPO, FPO majors. We've seen the backbone of like an Ace Run or a Gatekeeper has essentially captured and edited the footage and then has frequently gone on the PDGA's YouTube channel. They're kind of shifting up on how the contracts this year, so we're able to sell more advertising on our own channel if we wish, but then it will be on our channel as opposed to the PDGA's. So look for that.
I will.
I hope I don't get carried off a mountain.
I don't know who's carrying you off a mountain.
I was just going to say, I feel bad if anyone has to. I'll put it that way. But they have a lot of stuff talking about staying hydrated and physical exertions, and
that's for you. You don't hydrate enough, I feel like.
I don't, and I'm going to be taking it a little extra serious.
There you go.
Already. All right. So yeah, that's this weekend. And you said Masters Cup is a Q series?
Yes, Q series, because there were some issues with Skip Ace. Not issues, but it had been added way early in the season, I think, to a bunch of people's rosters. I think maybe I added it by mistake, thinking when I did a filter for DGPT events, this one's called DGPT, like a Q series. So I must have accidentally added it, and there's a lot of people that are like, wait a minute, I don't want this on my thing. So that's where we're at for that. So yeah, that's how I know it's a Q series event.
Okay. Q series.
I don't even know what that means. So.
Could use more not branding, more awareness.
Yeah.
That's
because the only Q series that I know of are over in Europe, other than this one. It feels like I'm sure there's other ones, but
I think I covered one.
Maybe.
Yeah. I just real quick because this could have been said hours ago. Gannon Burr now leads the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings. Obviously, this major carried significantly more weight than lots of other events do, but Gannon Burr leads the Pro Tour standings because the major does count towards those. Anthony Barella is in second. Isaac Robinson with the 300 points is now in third, and he is just barely behind Anthony Barella. Gannon Burr's consistency this year has put him out in front of our overall tour standings. And real quick, on the FPO side, I'll share that Holland Hanley, no surprise, as she has only finished off the podium once. Holland Hanley has 904 points and leads over Kristen Lott by 183-ish points, who sits in second, and Missy Gannon sits in third. So just a time and date stamp that through the first major of the year, through roughly 6 events that have been played, Holland, Kristen, and Missy are your top 3 in tour point standings.
Okay.
That's all.
Patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV if you want to be a supporter. We're going to do a giveaway in our after show, but
What?
You can do that. You can go to patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. It's how you can support the show for as little as $1 a week or $1 an episode.
What?
Yeah, you can be eligible for our weekly giveaway where we give away a disc. If you want to give us more, there are other bonuses. We are actually just finalizing a lot of the stuff for last year's supporter disc, the 2024 supporter disc. I know we're running a little late here, but I promise you that we are moving along with it. I showed Terry just a very quick rough up of our potential stamp. We're kind of finalizing that, so we'll get that ordered and get those signed and delivered in the next few weeks.
Didn't Bobby say that he was going to, as part of his outreach, he wanted to sponsor those?
Yeah, sponsor the
Patreon disc for the year. I mean, Bobby, I'm just saying we could mail that out to a few hundred people. Send them our way.
Without anything DD branded on it other than the disc, yeah.
He could put a Disc Golf Answer Man logo on the back. a fellow podcast. We could be bought for that. Okay, maybe not.
I'm unbuyable, Terry. It's not true.
Wrong. You are.
I'm totally for sale.
You are completely for sale. Yes, Glenn, we do giveaways. What? Here's my question.
Glenn Reiser's in the giveaway.
What can you get for $1 anymore?
What can you get for $1?
I mean, really?
No.
Like, what can you go get for $1? Do they still have dollar menus anywhere? At fast food places?
I don't know. I never really shopped off.
I mean, if they do, what
what
kind of crap are you getting that for $1?
Used to be able to get a soft shell taco for under $1. That's no longer. Those are like $2 now.
Last time I ate at McDonald's like 7 years ago, you could get a McChicken. I don't know if they still do that for $1.
I haven't.
But what's $1 anymore? Except for a chance to win here on Patreon.
Hey, that's what you got to do. You got to do.
All right. Yeah, you could get 4 quarters. I don't know. That may even change. Yes. Who knows? Well, with that, we're going to call the regular show. It's been plenty long enough. And we appreciate you guys for joining us. We appreciate more so the attendance from one Missy Gannon and Bobby Brown, Cool Daddy Slick Breeze. Thank you guys for both sharing your time and giving some insight, backstories, and what the future is going to have. They both did that. They both completely satisfied us in that way, and we appreciate it. So thank you for joining us. We're going to take a really quick break, roll some credits, and then when we come back, we'll make sure we get our Patreon list all downloaded so we can see who's supporting us and who's eligible for those incredible giveaways. We'll talk about things disc golf and non-disc golf related, whatever comes to mind, and we hope you got the chat all fired up and ready to go because we want to hear from you there. For John A.V., I'm the disc golf guy. We'll see you in the after show when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV Podcast 556's After Show. 56s. Feels weird. All right. We're finally here, and it's where Doc wants to be. All Doc cares about. He doesn't want to hear about Bobby Brown. He doesn't care about a multiple-time major winning champion in Missy Gannon, or which steak, cut of steak she's going to get tonight.
Ribeye.
He doesn't care. Doc Zen cares about your performance.
Oh, I don't know why he would care about that.
I don't either.
Nobody should.
If we're being honest, I don't either. But Doc says all we're doing is wasting time and delaying because that's what he's here for.
It was a pathetic performance. It was disappointing on multiple levels. I'll go through it real quick. First round.
Start at hole 1.
All
I'm
right,
just
for
kidding.
hole one.
I do not have all night.
I did start with a bogey. I know. I don't remember.
Ouch.
I don't remember
Okay.
which hole that was, but I know I started with a bogey.
Okay.
I know the problem with. It's so sad. Like I know the problem with my game.
Yeah.
And truly, I know where I lack, and I just don't know how to fix it. In that, I think I've said this before. This course is a lot of woods. It's a lot of alleys.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much. I mean, I guess you could call it hitting gaps, but there's not. It's just you have to throw 300 plus feet down a 25-foot alley.
Yeah, they're
This is
also
standing rocks.
they're old like cross country, or they are cross country like ski and snowshoe trails during the winter,
Yep.
just to kind of set up exactly the tunnels
Beautiful
and the
park.
alleys. Yeah, absolutely.
Mountain
beautiful.
biking in one area.
Yep.
It's-
Horses.
Yeah, the huge, like apparently like a 10-acre dog park. It's just phenomenal what they've done with the area. My problem is if I'm going to throw something, and I jokingly said this with Dana, that I have a problem flipping discs over. If I'm going to throw something hyzer to flat, I'm okay. It hyzers out. But when I try to throw something flat, like a driver particularly, flat, or even a touch anhyzer, it comes out of my hand early. And this is a problem I've had for many years. So when I'm trying to force things over, and maybe it's a grip, maybe it's just whatever, you can't have that at this course. You can't. I think I estimated about 14. I probably lost about 14 strokes over the weekend from things just coming out of my hand early. My mid ranges were freaking great. My putting was, I would say, pretty good. I think I probably missed 5 putts inside the circle all weekend. I can't complain about that. Had one spit putt, just stupid. drained what I thought was like a 45-footer downhill on saving a 3, and the guy in my group was like, "Wow, good save!" And then literally as he said it, it hit the chains, hit the ring, and came right back out at me. It's just like, you're killing me.
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks. And also, I would say disappointing on my own part in that the first round I played, I just played the day before. I felt I played pretty well, practice round. I come out and things just aren't going my way. I'm getting more and more frustrated. And I kind of like towards the last 5 or 6 holes, just kind of stopped caring, which is hard to care when you play 2 events a year. It's hard to be disappointed that you know you're not good, like you like kind of used to be, but you don't put in the effort to be good. So that in my head, I'm like, it's my own fault. I know it is. So getting frustrated that way and kind of throwing away strokes. So I definitely threw away at least 2 strokes that I probably didn't need to, just from being dumb and frustrated. And then second round is a shorter course. It's called the East Course. I think I started out 4 under par on like the first like 7 holes. Started out pretty well.
Course record. Here you come.
Here I come.
Right.
Not so much. Then I took a bad roll on one hole. I hit an early tree, had a great approach shot, hit right under the basket. The funny thing is, you know exactly, the Choco Boy hole?
The what?
The Choco Boy. They always gave out those Choco Boy CTPs on the hole. It's right next to the chalet. It's probably your favorite hole for crying out loud. It's like a 215-foot anhyzer, like just a little.
Oh, sounds like one I'd like.
Turnover shot.
Yeah, okay.
It's the one that plays parallel to that coming back. It feels like it used to be old hole 18 kind of.
Okay, sure.
I hit right under the basket. It's a mound. It gets up and rolls away 45 feet. I miss. I take a 4. So I was like, all right, no big deal. The next hole is a really long tunnel shot. 2 bad kicks. Take a 5. I get a 3 on the next hole. The hole after that, a bad kick that kicks me. There's 2 places on this course you can go out of bounds. I found one of them.
Okay.
And because
50%'s good.
I hit a tree and I kicked so far right, didn't hit another tree and went into a road. I'm like, oh my Lord, how do you like even? And at this point, I'm just very frustrated. I've lost all the strokes that I had, and I kind of just frustratingly maintained the rest of the round. I think I literally shot even first round, even second round. It's like a 900 and like an 890 rated round. And then final round, I was playing with a friend who just a guy we've known. I'm not going to say his name, but a guy we've known for a very long time. And he was not having a great weekend either. And I think we just maybe fed off each other. It was a very pleasant round. We chatted quite a bit, but I just couldn't do anything. I literally, I was having such a hard time throwing. Again, mid-ranges were great. If I should have just not.
I was just gonna say.
I said I should have just thrown my Comet the entire weekend. I probably would have. I probably would have been 6 or 7 strokes better. Because it felt like a lot of times I was pulling out drivers and it wasn't working for me. But I was also playing MP40, and there was no way I was not going. I'm not going to cash by only throwing mid-ranges there. There's just not enough birdies. So anyway, ultimately, I was very disappointed in how the rounds went. There were some highlights. Again, I was very happy with my putting. Just for whatever reason, the putting just doesn't leave. I feel like after about 10 or 15 putts, I can hit almost anything inside of a circle. But it's getting to that circle, which is the hardest part.
So maybe you should just hit up like putting league
there you
circuit. Go. And who cares
about this driving golf? Yeah, the driving is just overrated. That's lame.
Just become the putting league like hustler.
I think Owen does that. I can't. She'd
well, you can't go where she goes. You got to go other places.
I have to go to other places.
All right, because
like the B tier putting league tour.
Yes,
Owen's going to take it.
Exactly.
Overall, though, had a great weekend. A lot of fun. Got to see a bunch of people that I get to see once or twice a year, and just had a good time. Got to spend some time with some fellows. We watched disc golf when we got back to our Airbnb every night, which was fun, and played some cribbage with my friend Scotty and took him for $20. I skunked him. So yeah. So overall good.
Nice. Well, that's what you asked for, Doc.
Yeah, that's.
You're also asking for me to film JVD's run.
Not this course, please.
Yeah.
Like the next event I play is Northwoods at the end of the season, so I'm going to play like the start and the end.
Yep. More tunnel shots,
but almost all mid ranges, which is great. Like I was solid. Buzzes, comets, maybe an occasional putter. I felt great. Honestly, I felt really, really good with those in my hand, but just could not get the drivers going and was getting. The first round, as frustrated and as I bet you I got every good kick you could get.
Oh.
And still, that's the even more frustrating part. When you're throwing and you're missing your line, you hit a very early tree, and then you fall into a fairway. You're like, that could have easily kicked me. I could have been 6 strokes worse on this round. But thankfully, I got a bunch of really good kicks that saved me. Instead of taking a double bogey, I only took a bogey here. Yay!
Well, I was just going to say, that sounds like a silver lining.
It was a silver lining. Unfortunately, the next round, it went the other way. It felt like every kick I got put me in a bad position. And it all balances out. I don't think there's anything to it. But it's just one of those things. You're like, oh wait, where were all those good kicks again? I really liked them. Come on.
Why can't I get all the good kicks? Why can't
I just always get the good kicks? And as anyone that has ever played a wooded course will tell you, it's frustrating when I was the guy first round when I hit a tree and I kicked down into the fairway. The guy next to you hits a tree, kicks out. Well, I watched the second round. There was another guy who was throwing through the woods like they weren't there. And it's just like, you're like, wait, that's not a rough. Now, how did you, wait, no, there's a bunch of trees there. How did you get all the way up there to give yourself an almost putt at like this 400-foot hole? What are you doing, buddy? And so then I was on the other end of the frustration watching somebody else get. I will say that my first round, the good kicks I got, I didn't like miraculously make it through any woods, but I would kick and fall towards the edge of fairways or in the fairways.
Spot. Yeah.
It was a favorable spot as opposed to like getting really lucky through a bunch of trees. I wasn't able to miss trees, but that's there was definitely a little angel on my shoulder for that round, and then not so much for second and third round. Second and third round, it was just the third round wasn't so much bad kicks. It was just bad throws. It wasn't a pleasurable. But you know what? Again, silver linings.
Oh, that's just looking down some of the winners from the weekend or competitors. Lots of names, of course, that I recognize and know, and funny just to see some of those names still.
Oh yeah, yep,
still out there.
Yeah.
Doing their thing.
Oh, definitely. It's a little reunion at this event.
I mean, in some ways, I'm certainly envious, and in other ways, I look at some of those characters. And
a lot of people asked about you. Honestly, people were like, "Well, where's Terry this weekend?" And I was just kind of like, "It's a family weekend for him. He's hanging out with the girls." And we did see a photo from you at a casino one late night, apparently.
Yeah, maybe I might have. I cashed more than some of the players at the tournament. That's for sure.
Yes, you definitely cashed more than me.
Without the cost of driving north. But you can't always count on that either.
I almost had 2 aces this weekend. One, I hit dead center front of basket, about 2 inches low, and one of them, I think I had 4 holes to go, and I turned to our friend Pat, and I was like, "I'm gonna run at this." Yeah. It's a 230-foot. You can take it. I was going for the straight shot. There is a slight little hyzer. It's 2 holes after the combined hole, 7-8. So if you can walk yourself through that. I take my yellow Comet, which is a very straight flying Comet, and I'm like, I'm gonna run at this thing. I don't even care if I go past it and go deep. At this point, who cares, right?
Yeah.
And so I go and I gun it and I slip on the tee pad. No PDGA ref there.
No marshal there.
No marshal there.
Should have been.
And I yank it a little bit right. And it stands up and it goes straight. And then it starts hyzering in at the basket. Like, I was going for a nice straight line to an ace. This one started taking a hyzer route because the Comet is pretty straight flying, but it can, when it slows down, ends up parking the basket. And someone's like, "Oh, nice shot, even with that slip." And I'm just like, I missed my line. I was running at an ace. I don't deserve this birdie. So I
ace or nothing.
I was very kind of frustrated. It was a big ace pool. There was like a $600 or $700 ace pool this weekend. So
bigger than the win.
Yeah, it would have been. Trust me, I would have been very happy with that. But no, I didn't even get that.
Oh my gosh,
I slipped.
It's like they don't even know you're there.
God, nobody knew I was there.
I mean, the disc golf gods should be rewarding you.
I know. Jeez,
they owe that to you. I feel like
a lot of people owe me that.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Glenn says, never had a tournament ace. Maybe this weekend. Good luck
for
to
it,
you,
Glenn. Yeah, good luck. Edward says, I definitely did not use the force this weekend. No, I didn't, but I did pick up a force.
Yeah.
The players package always includes 1 disc, and I try to get a disc from the year that it's there, because there's a stamp. There's a few older ones that he still has lying around. And honestly, I was picking up all these discs. I'm like, I have so many buzzes. I don't need this one. I don't need this one. I'm like, I don't have any forces. It is a Z Force, I believe, with a Standing Rock stamp on it. Doesn't really feel good in my hand, but I like the stamp.
Yeah, but it will hold any line you put it on.
No, it won't. It will not do that.
It's
Terry.
good for both amateurs and pros.
No, it's
really
not.
good for all skill levels.
No, it's not. I walked out of that thing going, I literally said to myself, I'm having a problem throwing Anheuser shots. And I walked out with a force.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Yep. Perfect.
Now, to be fair, there weren't any. The selection wasn't huge as far as there was a lot of discs, but not necessarily a lot of different molds. And so, like, I picked the one because it looked like a nice disc with a nice stamp, honestly. But I remember laughing at myself as I walk out, going, "This is not the right disc for me."
Unless you just start to learn how to throw left-handed, then you've got a perfect quote unquote Anheuser disc.
That's true,
right?
That's true.
It's all about perspective.
I just didn't like the size of the rim with this plastic. I think I might like a force for an overstable disc, because right now I'm lacking. I say I'm lacking a true overstable disc in my bag, but I can't turn anything over right now. So really, am I? I think the most stable thing I have in my bag right now is a slightly beat Undertaker of all things. I did throw the Cicada a lot. This is not a plug for Discraft, because I also threw the Thrasher as well. But it's really funny that I used to always be an in of a driver kind of guy, and I've lost a lot of those drivers. I lost a few of them at the Memorial. So when I pulled my bag out for this weekend, it hadn't been touched since the Memorial, and I get to the thing, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm missing my Judge, which is my stable putter. I don't have a stable driver really other than this Undertaker. It's like, grr. I'm like, well, and I thought through the course, I'm like, I don't really need an overstable driver at this course, so it didn't really bother me too much. But I just chuckled. I was like, oh, yeah, I ain't got a few things. A good thing I don't need them.
I smell sponsorship.
I mean,
come on, people.
Everyone should really be reaching out to me.
I would think. Glenn says you need a diamond. JVD is the force with the. It is the force with the superhero guy. Is it the force with the superhero? No. It's a custom stamp.
It's a custom stamp. Force.
Speaking of not finishing where you did.
Near the bottom.
Ace run, as in Felix. Did I see another second place finish on the
Congratulations,
podium?
Felix.
A runner up this recently? Is that what I saw? Yeah, Ace Run is out on the board. They said they've already arrived and that the mountain and elevation action is no joke. Yeah, there's been a lot of warnings. So I will say this. We have all been warned. They have done an adequate job of that. Now the question is, does everyone react accordingly? And I hope that's the case, myself included.
How many?
Everybody has been warned that we're playing at 7,000 feet. And if you're not used to it, it's,
Over under 3.5 people that withdraw from the tournament we'll say withdraw from the tournament mid-tournament.
I'm going to say I'd take the over on
I'm
that.
going to take the over. I feel like 3.5 is probably a low number. Yeah, I would probably take the over.
It is, I'm not being an ageist, but we're talking about the over 40 crowd on some tracks that aren't necessarily the longest. I mean, we're talking 8,000 feet, I think is what I saw or heard. So which I feel is like pretty appropriate. We shouldn't be playing 10, 11, 12,000 foot courses.
Good Lord, no.
But even if what isn't there in distance or might not be perceived to be there in distance sounds like a lot of up and down, a ton of elevation while playing at elevation. I've just been told that a number of times, and I think Ace Run would probably confirm as they've been out there today as well. They said they ran to the local Walmart to pick up some oxygen cans, which is something that I saw a lot of people using and doing when we were at Flagstaff Worlds a couple of years ago as well. So maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea just to have one of those as a backup plan. Ace Run says tomorrow we'll check out the Oso course.
There's a walk around with a
supposed
CPAP
to be
hanging around.
it's supposed to be worse than the one we were at today. All right, well, let's get some good pacing out there. He says he missed a 12-foot putt on 18 to secure the one-stroke loss.
It's very similar to the story I told Terry about, our friend who missed in the playoff, missed the 15-foot putt in the playoff to take second.
Too bad. Couple random. I can't share all the details yet, unfortunately, but I did go to a park board meeting last night where I gave some very initial comments and ideas about putting in a disc golf course, and conversations were had. It was a park board, so the 4 people that went before me were all talking about food cart vending and special permits for other things, some art in the park or beer vending in the park and various park related things at some of their community events. And then obviously food trucks in Wisconsin are now growing in popularity. I know they've been very popular in other states, but they're growing in popularity. And so sat through a lot of those proposals and conversations that took place. Then there was a brief conversation. It was interesting to hear a relatively small town have a proposal in front of them about installing a basketball court, an outdoor basketball court. And I just think of you don't hear that nearly as often as probably you did in the 80s. Or maybe even before. And they're talking about the community in which it is. And obviously they have a lot of same considerations that you do when you're talking about disc golf, although a much smaller size. Well, the first question that someone said is, this is right in the such and such neighborhood. Yeah, those neighbors are going to hate that ball bouncing. How close is this literally to someone's backyard, which are all very valid concerns. But they were kind of stepping through that whole process, talking about the size of the court, who's going to be there, how visible is it from either the parking lot and or from the main busy street that's nearby. So a lot of those same conversations. And my whole point is there's so much to be learned when listening to park boards talk about some of the things that they concern themselves with. And a lot of those could obviously also carry over into disc golf considerations. Now, clearly we need a lot more land than a basketball court or a pickleball court or whatever. But also even just hearing, I didn't hear the exact number in terms of the cost, but hearing a pickleball court, a brand new pickleball or tennis court, maybe 20, 30, 50, $100,000. And then you're coming in there and knowing that in theory on a on a small pickleball or tennis court, there might be 8 or 10 or maybe 15 or 20 people at most playing on any given moment. We know that disc golf feels like it gets played probably even longer hours throughout the day from sunrise to sunset, and there could be well over 20 people out there. Not that you're always comparing apples to apples, but those are some of the selling points that go into talking about disc golf and the overall longevity, because let's face it, the only reason that anybody gives a crap about tennis ball courts right now is because they're repurposing them into pickleball courts, because pickleball is the new hot trend. And it probably will be for who knows. But if it weren't for pickleball, you would have a hard time finding a well-maintained tennis ball court that's not at a school. Think of every park you've ever been to. Think about where the tennis court is. Think about the weeds that are probably growing on it and the fence that's dilapidated and falling apart.
Yeah.
And how it's completely disregarded because so few people were actually using that tennis court. You might see 5 people out there, or 10 people, probably an even number, 10-ish people,
5
maybe
people,
not.
that poor guy.
But 10 people using a tennis court on a given week in the right community. And now pickleball has completely revived a lot of that. Well, point being, think about disc golf and the uses that it can.
If someone was complaining about the basketball noise, the pickleball noise has to be just as...
They said that the exact same thing. They said, just think over at such and such park where the neighbors were nonstop.
Pop, pop, pop.
Yeah. So anyway, they conceptually like the idea about putting in disc golf. They had a lot of questions, of course. I could give some basic answers in terms of, because I've only seen the property a couple times. Mm-hmm. I don't know really where they stand on it. If it's something, one of the things they talked about is, well, we don't have the right mower for that area, and we might need a new mower. And they were talking about another mower that's breaking down, that's 24 years old. That's back when they made them real good. But anyway, some other large scale mower that's 24 years old has outlived its already expected life expectancy, but they're also talking about maybe needing this other mower that's $96,000. And then someone's like, well, if we get that mower, then we could mow the course with it. And so just the way they're justifying and thinking about, well, they could also get used in these 3 other parks, and we need it anyway. So this is another place where that mower would be a good investment that we got to make anyway.
A lot of things to consider and think about.
It's crazy. It's and honestly, I enjoy hearing all of that play out. It's good information to have in your own back pocket, but just to know that there's so much more that goes into disc golf course. And then, is there a nearby conservation effort? Whether that's some butterflies or birds or bees or whatever the animal may be, a very special heron that is only, comes to this area once a year, and it would be right where everyone needs to walk to. And is it marshy? What's the, they said there's stuff in the nearby pond that they would want to pull out in case people ever actually went into that. 'Cause it's not meant to be like a swimming or fishing pond right now. It's just basically kind of was made a dumping site at one point that happens to have water. And they're like, if anyone's going to ever go in there, like intentionally, like we'd want to drain certain things out of there.
Bodies.
Yeah. So it was, I'm going to guess that I've been to 50 of those, maybe even 75 or 100 total, because sometimes you got to go to a park board 2, 3, 4 times in order of getting a course and then providing updates. But believe it or not, it just never gets old to be there to discuss the ideas of disc golf. And then also just even seeing the guard that's put up by one gentleman or one woman that's like totally skeptical. They've either seen or heard something that obviously they didn't like, or maybe they're just being skeptical because they just don't know, but then trying to overcome some of those criticisms. And then another gentleman says, well, actually, I've got a good friend that is in Ohio. He's a park and rec guy, and they put in disc golf. They put in 9 holes. It's been so wildly successful at Park X that they expanded it to 18 holes. And then everyone else kind of lit up of like, you talk about the growth and so on and so forth. So, it was fun. I left that to then head over to the Disc Golf Dyers Guild, where I met up with Dave Grinsell,
We had on the show a few weeks ago.
Who we had on the show a few weeks ago, and they did their upcycled repurposing of a disc challenge, and they made me vote on one that I like the best in terms of, all these submissions that were given. Some incredible submissions, clocks and chimes and signs, all sorts of things that were submitted. One that I thought was really cool was they dyed a disc, cut it out, and then made the attachment so that it would go on as like a nightlight. So it lit up, like the disc was like an oversized nightlight, basically, with that specific design on it. I thought that was really cool. So a lot of good submissions and a lot of good things to see there, and thought that was really cool. And then we gave out some prizes and hung out there. So good stuff going on. And I'm ready to hit the road. It's been a minute since I've done some coverage. I guess Jonesboro. But I'm ready to hit the road and go out and get some FP40 coverage. Lisa Fakis and Jen Allen are your two favorites in that they're both rated 950 plus.
Sarah Holcomb is not playing?
Sarah Holcomb is not playing. They're rated 950 plus, and I want to say the next is like 920-ish.
Owen is not showing up and playing?
Owen is not scheduled to be at this event, which feels a little weird, but she is not scheduled to be there.
Might just be out of her way.
Yeah, she might be playing Masters Cup. Honestly, I haven't looked for her name, but yeah, to know she's quote unquote skipping a major, an FP40 major in the Tim Selinsky does surprise me just a little. But anyway, Fakis or Jen, is it? Do you heavily favor one of the two with a 30-point lead, just ratings wise, over the rest of the field? But Fakis and Jen Allen both rated in their 950s. Do you feel like it's?
I'd have to see the type of course. Like, is distance a huge advantage? If so, then I think you feel like you have to go with Jen Allen. Is this much more of a? Is this going to be a putter's course?
I don't think. I wouldn't say they're short enough to, and Ace Run, who's been out at one of the courses today, can chime in on that. I wouldn't say they're short enough that you're needing to club down necessarily to putters, but I also don't think it's full blown. You're not throwing a max distance driver on every single tee shot either. Yeah. I think they're kind of moderate distance.
I would have to lean towards Lisa Fakis for probably not by much, but yeah. And I did just check. Owen is playing Masters Cup this weekend.
Okay.
Owen, Katrina Allen, Hannah Wynn. Those are kind of your three. Eliezer Midling is coming back as well. And over on MPO, you've got a lot of the big names, honestly. Gannon, Isaac, Ezra, Nicholas, Oram. So,
yeah. Very cool. Yeah. On the FP40 side, as I was just saying, Jennifer Allen, 957, Lisa Fakis, 955, and then Melinda Ring at 919.
Is this Lisa's first year eligible?
It might be.
We're going to say yes. She's so young.
How is she even 39?
I don't understand that.
It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm so confused. We'll go with that. Yeah, she did not play any FP40 last year, so I'm going to guess she's barely eligible.
She's a baby master.
Yes. On the MP40 side, your top rated contenders include Gail Leviska, Nate Sexton, Martin Hendel, Matt Blakely, and Paul Oman, along with Pete Ulibarri, to name a few. Brandon Cawthorn, who just finished third at GBO in Masters. Steve Brinster, as a couple of the other names.
You have to give, and I know I'm not going by your rating, but I would give Pete a leg up on a lot of those other fellas, because he's used to playing at some of those elevations over in Flagstaff.
Yeah, Flagstaff or yeah, okay.
Yeah. But just based on pure skill, you kind of got to give it to Kale.
Kale over Sexton?
Kale over Sexton. Just Kale's out there more often than Sexton. Not that, Sexton...
He's been injured and hasn't been playing much this year at all, I think.
Exactly. He might have to knock a little rust off. I feel like Kale's the odds-on favorite, followed up by probably Matthew Blakely.
I know that's who Tim Courts is going to be pulling for. Tim, would you say that Ohio has a lot of mountainous area that Blakely's? No?
Yeah, it's O, the two O's, and it's high in the middle.
There you go. Perfect.
So Yeah. You almost have to think that Blakely might be your second favorite, and then probably like who else was it? It was Sexton and Paul Oman.
Martin Hendel. Martin Hendel is a doubles masters world champion, and obviously fourth highest rated guy. There's no reason the Canadian couldn't be talked about.
Yeah.
I think he finished second or third at Masters Worlds a couple years ago.
I believe he did
in Flagstaff specifically. So
maybe I'll put him in third.
Okay.
It's almost impossible to bet against Kale, like with this field,
Was it Masters last year in Kale's debut where Philo took him down at this event?
Took him down by like a stroke.
Was that last year or the year before?
I think it was the year before.
Yeah, I think it was.
Pretty certain it was the year before.
I mean, how many wins does Kale even have in MP40?
I don't know.
Might only be
handful, 2, 3.
Yeah, the Memorial this year. Anyway, should see a good battle. Schwebe driving across country. Schwebe's going for a major win and
the MP50.
Yeah, heading on over there. So I'm very much looking forward to it, and hope you guys tune in for the action. I wonder who maybe Local Route is covering the Masters Cup. I was going to say I wonder who's covering Masters Cup.
It could be Central Coast.
Could be. Yeah, them possibly, or it might be Local Route, who I think did it last year.
Okay.
Guess we'll have to wait and see. On the board, Doc says our local has always kept up their tennis courts, but it was a lake area with lots of upper middle class homes. 24 years old, that's older than 30% of the disc golf pros. I don't know if you're talking about Isaac. Would love to see Terry Miller guide to talking to a board meeting about getting a disc golf course. Well, I'll admit this much. I opened, it was 4 different trucks. There was an ice cream truck, food truck, I think another sandwich food truck, and then a guy trying to just host an event to give away free hot dogs, I think, at one of the events as a give back. All those people went. They quickly talked about the basketball, and then I'm the last guy. I'm the last guy in the room with like 8 board members.
You bought everyone ice cream.
No. And I got up to the little lectern or podium and I said, I know my physique would lead you to think I'm also here to talk about a food truck or a beer truck, but I'm here to talk about disc golf. And then I went in and they all chuckled at that, which I don't think was a good thing for me. But yes, it looked like I'd be more there trying to, tout some beer or food. But I feel like it was as well received as it could be. And, I'm not sure that the community is necessarily ready for it, but, and that's it was kind of great too, because I wasn't like giving them a hard sell. I think I'm in a good place with that of saying, here's some information. If you want to do it, here's how you can call me is pretty much where and it was a little bit of a warm lead and that's where it went. Okay. All right, let's give some stuff away, Johnny, as I'm reading the rest of the board. Coming to D-Glow, I don't know if you're talking to me, John, but I will be at D-Glow for the first time in a couple of years. I get to walk that course with everybody for a few days. Glenn says he misses watching Central Coast. I know Ian is pulled in a lot of directions and doesn't seem like Central Coast coverage is currently one of those priorities. I think it could pop off on any given weekend, probably in the right scenario, especially something nostalgic or really close or near and dear to him. But it does not seem like that's necessarily a top concern for him at the moment.
I know he still does. I think they've got lined up a champs versus chumps up in maybe it's the Northeast.
Okay, there you go.
I think.
That sounds about right. Maybe
I thought I heard something like that. Patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. That is where you go to give us money, and that is probably the best site on the internet.
It all goes to this brand new course I'm putting in a marsh. So if you just send it.
Wait a minute. The greatest site on the internet. Patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. We have 106 people eligible for our giveaway this week. Terry Miller, what number shall we generate?
We had Missy on the show. She gets her props, her flowers. She was here. We didn't have the other champ, but it was his 4th major. So I like the 4th number called.
All right. I was going to go with 2, but
we always go with 2. My default.
Oh, well, this is
Always
Missy
lands on
second
2.
and Isaac second. But okay.
If you wanted to average them and make it 3, I could get into
we're
that.
going 4. That's what you chose. We're
4
sticking
is
with
what
that.
I chose.
All right. Our very first number is 53. Our second number is 75. Our third number is 16. I sorted them by first name. The fourth and final number. 18. 18.
The first name you said.
18. Yep. Let me scroll up. And
Ooh, I like it.
18 is Carl Davis. Carl Davis. Congratulations. He is a $5 supporter.
Dang!
Big baller. You earned it. We are going to get you a disc.
And Carl, I'm going to just say this. I don't recall shipping to you anytime recently that I can think of. So it definitely sounds like you may have been due and ready to go. So we appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Carl.
Holding strong. Awesome. Thank you, Carl. We're going to get out a Disc Golf Answer Man stamped disc to you.
I bet you I have one up there somewhere.
But seriously, we'll find something, some goodies to hand out. I got to remember, which I'll forget. I should remember to bring a couple extra discs and have some people maybe sign them this weekend at the event. That'd be kind of a cool giveaway. Hopefully, we'll have one of the champs on, maybe even
That'd be all right.
from one of the divisions next week here on the show.
If it's no matter who it was, I probably said they were going to win. Congratulations.
Of course, that's what we'll say.
Yeah.
Let Johnny roll that tape, and then it's just you saying, "I think is going to win."
Or no, actually, after this, we're just going to record me
like
saying
6 of them.
and then be
There
like,
you
"See,
go.
look at this. Johnny said."
I called it last week. Yeah, we knew all along. We had nothing but faith in you. Darren says, "Sorry, transferring my Patreon to Disc Golf Answer Man." I mean, that's a good place to put your money, even if they don't have giveaways for whatever.
They don't love you as much as we do.
Doc, thank you for joining us. Great show. Got to get to bed. Go get to bed. We appreciate it. And Glenn, I know, Glenn reacting to Carl Davis's incredible support of us. We absolutely appreciate it and couldn't do it without you. All right, I think that's good. I'm going to go do some final packing and getting ready. I'm going to try and do some more hydrating and enjoy my last round trip on Southwest Airlines before all their crappy new policies take place, which really don't affect me.
It's gonna be rough.
It's gonna be
not yet until they keep...
Real ID. This. Some will care about this.
Yep.
Real ID kicks in tomorrow, folks. I hate that I'm going to be at an airport tomorrow morning with the Real ID debacle. That will probably happen. They're going to let you still travel, but there's going to be holdups. There's going to be backups.
Yeah.
I worry it's going to be a little bit ugly and a little bit messy. I'm going to hope our government is super efficient. That's all we've been focused on. So I know TSA is just going to run us through. Okay.
They've only had like 20 years to prepare for this.
Well, I know, but still, I worry it's going to be messy, and I just hope it's not. Selfishly, I hope it's not. I have a Real ID. I'm ready to go. My travel partner, Dustin's ready to go. He said we made some plans, or I confirmed plans today. And then it hit me that tomorrow is the day, and I'm traveling on the Real ID day. And then I had to write him, and I said, please tell me you have a Real ID. And he said, yeah, of course I do.
I don't have one.
I got it last week. I was like, yeah, good enough for me.
Yep.
You don't.
I don't travel
need
nearly
one
as
right
much,
now.
but I do want to go get one in the
Yes.
next couple months.
Yes,
probably
to get
in the
it
next
done
2 to
with,
3
just to be
months,
safe. But
Yep.
yeah, so let fingers crossed everything goes smoothly there with that process. But thank you to everyone. I see some new faces and names out there, including our friend Dave over at Disc Golf Dyers Guild. Appreciate you, and thanks for the sweet giveaway and the contest you ran, and for all the help. We're going to try and work on some extra coverage stuff for this weekend. Ace Run, see you tomorrow. Whether you like it or not, you're getting a hug from me, buddy.
Now, do you need to like more oxygen when you give a hug up at that elevation?
I don't know, or not squeeze as tight.
Yeah, maybe not. You probably shouldn't. Don't squeeze them that tight.
No promises. There's only one way to find out. Oh, did I squeeze you too tight?
Sorry, Felix.
We'll see what happens. All right. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you. Looking forward to seeing you next week. This has been Smashbox TV Podcast 556's After Show. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.